Hello, everybody. Welcome to Getting Down with Dave C. and special guest JT Kirk with doing our Battlestar Galactica comics review. And JT, we are doing the Galactica 1980.
Yes. Hail and good evening to everyone.
Yes, hail, and your bud Admiral Teag popped in. I don't know if he's still listening or not. Yeah. Cool. Shoot him the link. He said he has these in the chat or something like that. Yeah. So if you're still out there, then he's more than welcome to pop in. Okay. It didn't show up on the YouTube earlier. It's on my other laptop, but I'm not on this one. That's why you see me saying something to, hey, Admiral Teag, but you don't see him.
See,
why? I don't know. YouTube was acting weird earlier.
Yeah.
It was a little strange.
Didn't actually tell me that you went live, which it was doing that to Dadman the other night. So,
for real?
Yep. And it still doesn't say you're live, but I'm watching you.
Yeah, that's one of the other reasons I have my other laptop that I always say that I use both just in case. It's up and running, so we're good to go.
Sure. Sounds good. Yep. Let's do it.
All right. Well, so should we recap number one or just quickly talk about?
Go for it.
Okay, everybody. I'm going to put in the cover of number two just so we have this up and running. All right. And make sure that it's, set up on the YouTube side, and it should be. There it goes. So last week we dove into the 1 through 4 miniseries 1980. And it was a self-called reimagining, right?
Yes.
And buddy, yes, it was. I didn't go back and watch the movie, and GapStargate, he's sick, so he won't be here to help us with that. Probably should have gone and watched the movie, but I didn't want it to spoil the comics. So we had quite a problem with the issue last week, where coming off the heels of our original Battlestar Marvel series, trying to find Earth, they found Earth, right?
Yes.
And
immediately decided to be a bunch of toxic colonialists.
God, hey, Admiral Teag. Yeah, if he wants to come on, man, shoot him the link.
All right.
I'd be more than happy to just let me know if he's coming on, because this covers up that whole side of everything so I can see the comments. Sorry, everybody, while I move my screen around. That's why I try not to mess with it too much. So last week, number one was really good with most of the art, right? You really liked the cover. This is the cover of number two. And there's also, I think, some alternate covers that if you can remind me, don't want to forget that. I like the style, I guess. It's different. Everybody's different. What do you think about this cover compared to last week's?
It's darker. It does not have as much, I guess, hidden meaning or added meaning at all.
Yes.
And I guess that's a little bit of a letdown. But I still like this cover. I like how the bronze jacket color does pop appropriately.
Yeah.
The lighting on that and everything really makes the jacket look pretty damn cool. So from that perspective, yeah, it's nice. Whoever drew the hand knows how to draw hands.
Yes, right. So
I know that sounds weird, but to anyone who's read enough comic books, a lot of times artists just can't draw hands.
No,
I can't even do hands. So.
No. And this is Perillo, I think. He just does the cover, didn't do the inside. Just for fair warning, right? Yeah, I thought the same thing compared as far as the art. The jackets pop. But it's pretty plain other than that, right? It doesn't follow true to form of giving any hints at all. Take that as it may be, but that's the way the comic books have been doing, at least the Battlestar Galactica, even last week's disaster of a number one. I think it's fair to say that we didn't like it at all, right?
Mhm.
Compared to other things. Quick recap before I move on. I do like this splash page that has that little fade of the cover from number 1 in the background there.
Yep.
I do like that. That's pretty cool. It's barely noticeable if you just flying through it. You won't even see it. But last week, spoiler alerts, because we have to, because we're going into number 2 and 3. They find Earth, and we meet this new character, which is I'm always up for, but it's a little shithead character called Dr. Z, who's just this gung ho, take over the whole world, wants to come down here and just to, he really gets brutal in this one too. He calls them animals and barbarians, all kinds of stuff you can think of, low level type stuff about the humans on Earth. And for some unknown reason, JT, they did a lot of unusual mistakes and just common sense that, yeah, there's always going to be, if aliens showed up, there's always going to be that tense. Are they here to hurt us? Are they here to say hello? And we could do anything as so much as wave your hand and they might take it as a threat, right?
Right.
That's always a good sci-fi theme. But man, the characters in these two, the American characters on Earth and the Dr. Z characters, were just way overboard. And the writing is pretty good, actually, but the way the direction that character is and you'll see it in here, just way overboard. And then the Americans always got that general who, like last week we had talked about, just nuke them, straight into nuke them, right?
Mm-hmm.
And do you want
to be fair, though,
do you want to say what happened?
Why would you have the
Battlestar?
Battlestar Galactica just appear right over the White House? I mean, I almost don't blame the military here for doing that in a way, although a nuke over your own capital is a bit extreme. A bit.
It makes no sense, right?
Yeah.
So that's what I was saying. Both ways makes no sense.
Yes.
Adama would never have flew the Battlestar Galactica a few thousand feet above the damn White House. He would have kept that in space and sent an emissaries. He would have never done that. It's just beyond reason.
It would have looked much more like Star Trek First Contact than it would have anything else.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, that's not the one that they get. At least, we come in peace kind of a thing.
So that character Z thinks very, very low of the humans on Earth. I think he has a secret agenda of trying to take over everything. And we'll see more of that here as we move on. But we do positivity going into this one. We see some character reveals that I didn't know until I saw the second issue right here, that Troy is Bhakti, your favorite person.
Yeah.
All grown up. And without watching the movie, you wouldn't know. And unfortunately, it's not going to be really spoiler. It's in the comic that Apollo is gone. He's passed away. We don't know how if you haven't watched the movie, but it's pretty obvious at this point.
Exactly.
But Adama's got to be what we thought damn near in his 90s, at least. Although we've kind of took the high road on that one, said they probably live longer than normal humans, right? Like, I'm just,
probably
throwing that out
their
there.
healthcare is a little bit better in the colonies, although what they're getting on the Galactica is probably a little more suspect.
Yeah.
Especially because the doctors love to smoke in the comics and on the TV show. So maybe they don't live as long as you might think.
Yeah, I wouldn't think so. Probably not Starbuck with all the cigars he smoked. Every single page in the comic.
Oh, dude, those pilots are like hot boxing cigars in their fighters.
In the fighter, yeah.
I'm like, doesn't the ash get all over your flight suit?
That was so crazy.
But you're not getting that cigar smell out of that cockpit.
No. Or that purple monster guy when he sat in there from Dr. Eno.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
But, So now we're dealing with the aftermath that the Battlestar Galactica got hit by a nuke right above the White House and crashed. And I think was that Teag popped in? Yes. Hello, sir.
Hi there.
Hey, man,
Hey,
welcome.
Admiral.
Don't you think it's a little sus that they showed up with the ID4 move? Like, not too menacing, right? Which appear above the White House.
Hey, yes, welcome to the show. Appreciate it, man.
I am so happy to be here. Thank you for allowing me to be on. It's a pleasure. I hope you don't hear the train outside too loudly. I'm not. I'm in a semi-unaware state of my audio. Thank you, though, JT. That tip turned out to be all right.
Oh, okay. Cool. Well, you sound great.
Working out like we wouldn't believe. Yeah, thanks.
Yeah, we were all having problems tonight. Is trying to get our stuff working.
If there's a StreamYard's problem, that would be one thing. I was having my own little issues, but please just go on with this great comic. Is it faithful to the movie, which I sort of remember?
GapStargate said no.
These things. I don't remember any of these incidents.
Yeah, he's sick. He says he's got a really bad cold. He could weigh in on that. If I believe JT, he said last week it does not. This whole thing with the Battlestar. I don't remember the Battlestar Galactica getting blown up by a nuke right above the White House. I remember
the show. It doesn't finish in a determinate manner. I don't know if it was production schedule or they're like you jump the shark and you can't unjump it by changing characters or whatever it might have been. But that show there's a bad guy. His name is like Zambier or something like that.
Dr. Z,
Xavier. He's one of them. He takes off. For some reason now it takes 9 Cylons to fly a Raider. It takes like 2 Colonials to fly a Viper. It's a little silly. I don't know if Lauren Green was on that one. Is that where the epic like merging with the Force thing happens with him?
Well, I want to say that he was in the movie. I know he was in one of the ones that came after the original series, so I'm thinking it's this movie. Yeah, I should have watched. I didn't want to watch it, but I should have.
There was like a 2-show long movie, or maybe longer. Because remember, they got the first one into theaters, which questionable after showing it on TV first, even though it was interrupted during the broadcast.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know what they told him to get him to do it, but maybe in the show we had Colonel Ty moving. I prefer to call him Colonel Teag, but Colonel Teag moving up a little. He's a good military man in this one. He's not a Cylon.
Right. No, he's not a Cylon in this one. And I'm trying to get your channel plugged so I don't forget there, Admiral.
Don't worry about it.
So this is based on Galactica 1980. So this is supposed to be the sequel to the 24-episode season / film from which we likely remember.
Yeah, it follows directly after our comics of them trying to find Earth, and then they find Earth, and that's where it jumps right into that fabulous number 1 issue.
At the end of the first series, they botch finding Earth. They're sitting around in some sort of observatory part of the ship. Mm-hmm. Maybe it's one of those many guns we see, but they're sitting around, they're messing around. We find out Apollo's hobby, which would have been nice to know earlier because he was so one-dimensional. It's like, I like to fight and fly. But like his hobby is like messing around looking for Earth. So it's like father, like son a little bit. Yeah. It's kind of like some of their best writing. And when he leaves, we hear the moon landing.
Yes.
And that, of course, brings the Harvester aliens.
Yeah, and then they cancel the show.
So I can tell you just from a basic synopsis that this comic in no way follows what was in the 1980 TV show.
It was a terrible show.
Yeah,
it was a terrible show.
Yeah, most people didn't like it.
But
I don't remember liking it.
Here's the thing, just I'll let you go with this after this one as far as commentary. The show was it's a detective show and a chase show and the fugitive plus Chips and whatever the hell else they wanted to mix in there, because like they have these weird motorcycles that they're driving around and like shoot missiles and stuff, and it was all over the place. It was completely bad shit.
And they even had, it says here, they even had an episode with some Yahtzees in it in a time travel episode.
Well, I mean, yeah, the colonialists are in every episode.
Yep. Well, I mean Earth Yahtzees.
Oh, the good
The
old
Austrian
days. I
painter
may or may
variety.
not have been present at that meeting, but I'm sure that those guys had the right idea at the end of the day. I mean, sure, they were a little extreme, but let's not judge them too much. I mean,
Sure.
look at some of these other bad guys compared to the Cylons, choir boys here.
Well, compared to this
Well.
Dr. Z, this one's the he might as well have been one. This is just a terrible
I wish
character.
they'd origined him a little better. Like,
Yeah.
in the other show, we found out life in the fleet is hard. In the first show, all we find out is being on the Galactica is an enormous responsibility.
Mm-hmm.
You know, in the other show, they get into stuff like life in the fleet is really hard.
Yeah, it's a ragtag, barely hanging on, always running from the Cylons type of deal. And they stay true to the form for the most part on that in the comics, and they delved off into different arcs and stuff like that. They had to keep it from being one dimensional, always just running from Cylons, different stories and stuff.
And now in the first episode or the first book here, we have pilots that are supposed to be Viper pilots, the best humans in the fleet with the best reaction times, just kicking back pints of grain alcohol while they're out there flying.
Yeah,
and
drinking and driving.
Yeah,
don't do that.
Pretty much. Yeah, don't do it. Don't do it. Space, especially. But we have all that going. Then we have like F- Starcraft strategy by just flying the Battlestar Galactica right over the White House, like Teag was saying, ID4 style. And then they get nuked, and Commander / Admiral Adama is supposed to die now.
I don't understand why they got nuked and they chose to unveil themselves in such a, like friendly and unshocking way, and rolled it out with their technology in a way that like don't communicate from the moon and say, we're friendly and we're going to hold out. We'll wait to speak to each. Let's just appear over like they're like debatably their greatest power, center of power, where their leader is, and we'll just show up there. By the way, they have internal combustion engines, and they don't know that there's life out there.
Yeah. I mean, they're so low sub-level humans, even though they launched space probes that stood the test of time out there. They knew that, right? They knew they had.
We're smart enough to record the audio that we scan. Like our people would have found out the next day. Like, we just heard this transmission. It happens to be in our language. I think it's a strong lead, sir.
Yeah.
Well, they don't even know what they're messing with because they captured V'ger, and we all know what happens when you F with V'ger. Okay.
Yeah, you don't F with V'ger.
you can get a geisha out of it for a while.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, not the best choices at all in the writing. Dare I say some of the stupidest choices, but the art's not bad. I know this style isn't for everyone.
No,
but it's not bad.
It's hokey pokey 1 minute and then good the next. It's kind of like
when
the other one, but
when was it published?
This was in the early 2000s. I want to
say, right?
Can anybody read that? 2009.
Yeah.
Doesn't it reek of it? I mean, and not in a bad way, but maybe in every way. It works with the red lit room, but the other rooms, their choices of color are a little bit shocking and skewing towards gaudy.
Yeah. Well, I love my monitors, so I get a good monitor shot here.
You do love your monitors.
And
when Sydney Sweeney's on screen.
Yeah. Well,
we
wouldn't
definitely
open any other pages if that were the case.
Yeah, so what have they done here? Have they mashed up all continuities of the show? Because they've got that other show to work with now.
They do, and they just jettisoned it.
Yeah.
Like they basically took 5% of it and just made it their own. They took the Disney route.
Yeah.
The Disney Star Wars route. Really.
So here we can see how storytelling and the very basis of movies and comics is like right now at the edge of being in trouble. It's like hanging around in a bad part of Comic Town. It's not being a very good graffiti artist when it does tag up, and it's like mostly just uninspired and just out there like tagging up everywhere. It's like, son, you're gonna tag up on the train. For God's sake, make it look good.
Right. Right.
No, I will say I do like this ship. I think that's probably one of the few things that this comic does that I wouldn't really change. I mean, it's not amazing, the best ship I've ever seen, but
It looks good.
it looks good. They have good flame effects.
Yeah.
That might be computer generated partially, but hey.
Yeah, it kind of almost seems like that, doesn't it? But they have good lines and good form to it. That's the Rising Star from the original comic series. So that's a little bit of a throwback. So they kept that in. But you have
It
this.
reminds me of their
Z.
like Colonial Force One ship from the other show.
Oh, from the
Aesthetically,
reboot?
slightly so.
From the
Yeah, it
reboot?
looks a little like Colonial Force One, whatever the hell you want to call it. the
Colonial One.
president's-
Yeah, you had
Yeah.
it.
Oh, the presidential ship.
Yeah, Laura's ship or whatever you want to call it.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, this one is like the debutante rich people's ship from the original comics. Sire Yuri. So this
I remember
doctor
Yuri.
is on
He
there.
was a great jerk.
He was a good villain. He was good at it.
He
This
was an
one is
old
spectacular.
evil man who played the tough guy sometimes with Apollo. He'd get like right in his face and be all tough with him. It's like all he had was a height advantage. It's like old man.
Mhm.
Caught back down.
Oh, Sire Yuri was great. You love to hate him. And this one's definitely true to form too, Admiral, because God, do I hate this character. Right, JT?
Oh yeah. It does not help that he didn't actually end up being Boxy, which is what I thought in the first cell that we see him. But
Well, he declared himself as an old man. So there's, like you said, Teag, there's a bit of an origin story. And I think somebody last week said we might get that in 3, and I didn't see it in 3, not that I can recall. Maybe in 4, but it's only a 4-part series. So there you go.
Again,
Hey,
He's a kind of an
Alas.
a-hole. This
because
guy's an
they
a-hole.
say Adama's dead, you don't know that. As a matter of fact, I do, because I chipped him like a dog, and it
Yeah.
doesn't work anymore.
Yeah, there's definitely something going on here.
Is the guy who's like all bald and stuff with the stash, is that Starbuck or is that just a hallucination because it looks like he has a cigar in his mouth but doesn't?
That's a member of the council.
Okay, so everybody that we know of is just MIA for this story. It's like they died
Apollo-
on screen a long time ago.
Apollo and Starbuck are MIA. Apollo is dead, and Starbuck is unknown. We're just assuming that he's dead.
We checked the logs and we found out he missed contact from a possible Earth-like planet. He committed suicide. That's why who made me say it. He self-deleted soon after out of embarrassment.
Yeah.
Pretty much. And so then they say, okay, command goes to you, Colonel Boomer. And then this little twerp says, I'm
Actually, yeah,
declaring.
it's Colonel Boomer, isn't it?
Yeah, he
Yeah.
got promoted. So, and Ty, I guess, is gone too.
They
He
don't
was-
move him up to commander, though. They're like, Colonel's good enough for you.
Yeah,
Well, he was the number 2 to Adama.
he was number 2.
Yeah.
It
So he
helps
took
that
over
there's
from
nobody
Colonel
above the rank. I mean, I guess that helped Gaddafi too, but it must have caused confusion in his army.
Yeah. So then he's like, I'm declaring cerebral law.
I don't know. It's just written in, and he's just going to take over, and he's claiming that he's smart, and the military's dumb because they did all this. But there's a tinge of that he's behind some of this stuff, right? That he wanted this to happen. He led him into it anyway. The Z character, right? So
with this, when I first read it, I was like, wait, he's declaring Shakira law.
yeah.
He's
just gonna take over.
Anyway, you guys know that joke, right? With people. Anyway,
Shakira law.
Yeah.
I think isn't the real Shakira in legal trouble for grifting people in Spain?
Maybe
I don't
allegedly.
think there's going to be another She's not going to be touring Europe again anytime soon.
No. So
Speaking of
they're
Shakira
planning
Law.
to invade before primitives on Earth can inflict more damage. Now, they were just talking about in the last episode how the population had declined and women were electing for self non-reproduction.
Mm-hmm.
So how they have enough people they think they're going to take over like 8 billion people in the 80s.
Yeah,
Don't know.
We get into the whole zero common sense here pretty quickly.
Once we trigger a nuclear war,
Yeah.
But here's the thing: they just
we'll appear over
lost.
their White House to begin the
They just
exchange.
lost their only significant military vessel to one nuke.
I know BSG2 shakes off nukes like twice in that show. It's just like some minor inconvenience.
Well, not here apparently.
No.
That's
it
one
fell,
of
it
those
fell
that
quick.
moves.
It
This
fell
came
quick.
out after the reboot, but maybe they just didn't watch the reboot. Who knows?
I mean, they wanted it to be destroyed over the White House with a nuclear missile, but I'm just like, we're supposed to believe that master tactician and good shepherd Adama pulls this move.
Yes.
No,
Yes.
not me.
Yeah, it's like I'm tired, Ty, Boomer. What do you think we should do? Well, we're glad to have this chance to step up. You've really been hands-on all these years. We haven't had much experience despite being here. What's up here over there? Like most sensitive building, and see what happens.
They must have
Are
had
they trying to trigger the nuclear war? Who fired
I don't know, maybe
Was it
Adama.
us?
Adama had like 5 bottles of ambrosia or something, and then people were still listening to him. That's about the only way I could say, yeah.
Yeah, they don't even show it. It just shows up. It's
a comic book about sci-fi, so I don't want to get too, observation or whatever here.
No, we tore into
about it. You would have to be so far. I mean, I'm assuming this thing's visible. So let's say it was even a speck in the sky. We're talking an enormous ball of fire. Everybody on Earth, who looks at it, is going to be unable to see for a good long time, if ever.
Mm-hmm.
The fallout, absolutely horrible stuff. Who knows what they have? Colonium or whatever kind of stuff they made the Cylons from, and shoot upium to fill up their Viper ammo. I mean, it's all going to fall on the White House. I mean,
conveniently, it only falls on the front lawn, right? The size of the Galactica that close, and it just conveniently just falls right there.
It would take out the Lincoln Memorial, the Jefferson Memorial, the Washington Monument, Congress, and the White House.
Yes.
That ship is massive enough; it would just fall on top of all of them.
You could almost see one of the buildings I worked at. Yeah, I actually worked really close to there. I was thinking maybe they would have had an aerial shot. I could have shown you with the courthouse building I worked at up there. In the day.
From the comic.
What
were you saying, Teag?
They would make America great again by taking out the entire federal section of downtown DC with the fallout and the crash of all the falling objects. I mean, it's insane.
It missed the IRS building, though. It missed the IRS building.
We've lost downtown DC and the IRS building. Downtown DC will be apartments, but the IRS we will rebuild.
Wait till you see how ridiculous they handle it all. Especially when they keep bringing up things that JT and I talk about, security with the medical. They talk about radiation constantly.
Mm-hmm.
We get Bob Ross. What about Bob Ross here?
I think he's supposed to show how beastly we are.
Yeah,
but Bob Ross uses a radio telescope, which doesn't mean you pick up radio wave communication in it. So that's a misunderstanding about how this technology is working in Puerto Rico. But they also pick up unencrypted comms from the Vipers in the colonial fleet.
Yeah, just anybody can listen in on their communications.
They've been encrypting communications. Yeah, I know. I'm like, inhaled a buddy, pepper, inhaled a dead man.
That man.
We've developed no skills in our 30-year game of cat and mouse with the deadly Cylons. Let's appear over the White House and see what happens.
Yeah. Yeah, Dad Man, did you remember seeing this movie?
What's
Back
with
in
the
the
blue
day?
flames?
Well, the art is good. That they've got the Vipers are a lot better, other than one or two occasions from the original. And I'm digging at least the Viper scenes,
I'm
I'm
especially
digging the
when
telling
Viper.
myself, hmm,
What's with the afterburners though? It's just blue on blue. It's just even if it was consistently blue in the show, it's like okay, in our atmosphere, it's orange for a fact. You know what I mean? It's just I don't know if that was the
oh,
greatest idea,
they
unless
switch
we're
it up.
all about how strange their engines are or something.
I
Yeah.
thought just maybe the fuel was burning hotter and more complete because it was in atmosphere. But
Just artistically and aesthetically, I question the blue on blue. You know what I mean?
Sure.
It's
Sure.
very 2009 though, isn't it?
the blue
Oh,
and the
yeah.
orange.
Oh yeah, we'll get a
together.
really good
Yeah.
Viper scene
Yeah,
later
right.
on. That's really
And the
nice.
choice
But
of blue over orange, but the Vipers look great.
Yeah, they
Yeah,
do.
they-
They're very consistent.
yeah, but what they're not consistent with is common sense.
They're
Because
not consistent with the bad take on
No.
them from the 1980 show either. They're
No.
smaller, slimmed down. They're the
Well-
original Vipers.
in the letters at the end of the issue number 1 last week, they self said to the audience that this is a reimagining by the head guy here, the head writer, that this is kind of his thing, reimagining it.
Oh,
that's
yeah, I
his
dig
take
that.
on
I'm
it.
just a great choice not to go with the two-seater. It's like maybe you have one or two for special missions, but they didn't work. In the other BSG, having the second kind of ship that was sort of like an AWAC plane made sense. Two-seater
Yes.
Viper didn't. And the
Right.
9-seater Cylon ship made no sense.
No.
Especially because they're robots. Why do they need to sit in chairs that way?
And like one or two of them should be able to be like super. It's like we need 9 robots. Like we just can't make one that's better.
Yeah, exactly. Well, we talked about that last too. They put in really big people. A lot of the stuff, the continuity wasn't all that great in the series, the comic series. But
So we get a frame that says they're going to look for survivors. Don't know where they're going to take these survivors or how that's going to work because now they have nowhere to land these Vipers. But okay,
yeah, it's a nuclear explosion site, right? And we get our take on the language. That I thought that was kind of cool. I didn't know this, that the colonial guys are speaking a different language than the Earth people, right? I wasn't let on to that. I must have missed the hints or something. But I
they
thought that
talked
was kind
about
of
it
cool.
in the first episode a little bit, I think.
Well, the first one.
I picture this guy talking with the voice of Mr. T. Does this sound like Russian to you? Anyway,
Yeah, I actually like.
I think it's more entertaining that way. But they, I think it's funny. They're like more like Hebrew, but why would the Israelis delete us?
It makes sense though, those languages that they're pulling it out of, right? Because the idea is there's some overlap with people who end up like in the area of Egypt.
Yes. Yeah. Well, funny you should mention that because that was a main theme in the original comics that
And
JT brought up, especially with religion as well, too.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I do have a
the
bit of an
helmets
issue
and the
with
Viper
this
pilots.
from a creativity standpoint. Stargate's been out for a while at this point, and I feel like they just stole this language component from them. Just saying.
Yeah, because we didn't see any borrowing in the other comics, right?
So then this guy storms out. Call over to Hector. I need to borrow his plane. Now we don't know if that's Hector Salamanca from Breaking Bad. We have no idea which Hector that is. Hector from Days of Our Lives.
Fantasy Island.
I mean,
I don't know, right? You get the Fantasy Island plane. The plane.
I have limited belief that this lettering was done by humans in any part that I'm looking at, either the Moscow dateline or the actual talking.
Yeah. So I noticed that the art, when it comes to when they have a group of people, isn't the best, but I get it. It's smaller, right? It's harder to do, but they put a bunch of colors in. I didn't understand why the Russians launched? JT,
They're
can you help
Soviets.
me?
They're Soviets.
But they said that they launched because they got attacked. Did we launch? Did the Americans launch it? They only launched one.
So
of
the
the
Americans
Americans that
launched-
did, right? I didn't
They
get
knew
that.
that we launched
On
but they
ourselves. But on
well,
ourselves,
no,
basically.
they
Right above
just
the
know
White
that
House.
they launched.
Okay.
Their Soviet limits of their technology don't know that we launched on ourselves, just that they launched.
Got
And
it.
I think we actually did launch at Russia because we thought the Battlestar Galactica was Soviet.
Okay.
So we thought it
Got
was
it.
the Ruskies. And
Yeah.
this one, I do have a problem with the previous. If you could go back up.
Sure.
Well, I do love that they're bringing in Brezhnev here. Satellite spotted the launch plumes 5 minutes ago. Comrade Chairman. However, he would not invoke a deity. I think he would say,
Yeah.
by Lenin's
Wait,
hammer.
Lenin's ghost.
Yes.
By
by the
Stalin's
hammer
nipples.
of Lenin. Yes. And is that a bust of Lenin on the left, as a matter of fact? I think it is.
It is.
The whole Soviet experiment was sort of a bust by Lenin.
Yeah, well, and the
I
president,
see
our
what you did there.
president-
I
Yeah,
see what you did there.
that's good. That's good. That's funny.
Anyway.
What got me
I
was
thought
None of us are
Mr.
big fans of communists here. I'll just
I'm
say that.
scoffing at the frame where he's talking about the launch, Counter-Strike launch, and I'm questioning why it's parenthetical, but murky, bad.
Yeah, it was a little confusing to me, but JT, I guess because we're launching nukes, they assume we're launching at them. And
They don't-
how nice for them to say that they translated that from Russian for us. Appreciate that.
Is the
Okay.
parenthetical meaning they're whispering? Because it's just
Oh,
a shit way
Lady
of illustrating it. Hi, Lady V.
I think it's meant to mean that it's look in the bottom left of that, translated from Russian.
Yeah,
So
they're
there's
trying
an
to be funny.
asterisk in the very first time Brezhnev spoke higher up. So translated from Russian.
Yeah.
So they
Trying to pull it.
They're
Then
not
we-
even-
Present
they don't
danger,
even-
Tom
yeah.
Clancy movie move.
Yeah, we get right back into the no nonsense type of stuff again here. Look at the size of the Galactica compared to a human, and it's just completely on
Mhm.
fire and burning. And Troy and Dylan,
it looks like the Hindenburg.
yeah,
And there was a nuclear blast
yeah,
was gonna
with less than a
say-
mile. But there's trees. There's leaves on those trees.
yeah.
Chip's
It's
not radioactive at all.
Oh, we'll get into that.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. That's yeah. That's the whole theme for like 5 pages. Right, JT?
Yeah.
Yeah, so Troy and Dylan land because there's no military around the White House left. I don't know. They're supposed to be, but they just land. It's no big deal. They jump out. They head for this towering inferno that's the Galactica, which would be ungodly size if you stood next to it, right?
Mhm.
You know what I mean? It would be like huge buildings all put together. The Galactica is massive.
I mean,
But
this
they
thing
run
would
right
make
into
an
it.
Iowa class battleship look like a pontoon boat.
Yes.
And if you ever stood next to an Iowa class battleship, you are a bunch of nothing.
yeah,
next to
imagine
it.
five
It's
or
so
five or
large.
6 of those. Yeah, put together.
Yeah.
So it's a blazing inferno, and they just run right into it. So that's okay. Right? It's all good. It's all good, right? But here's your radiation, guys. So, I inoculated myself before I came. What about you? Oh, he doesn't even reply to that. He doesn't say, yeah. He says frack. So I guess he didn't inoculate himself. One guy did, Boxy, who's the dark hair guy, and Dylan's red hair guy, right? Because they
Yes.
get their speech bubbles mixed up. It drove me crazy because I got really confused.
You know, you spend all day trying to make that early 2000s computer font fit into that bubble, and you're just gonna, after you find out that you've gotten it all wrong, you're like, I don't get paid enough for this. $100 page.
Right,
Mhm.
right. So Troy Boxy is the dark haired guy, right? And what I found interesting, like this body here is just decimated, right? This mummy burning hand type thing.
Yes.
And the radiation and the heat, and I know you got to do it for the comic, but you still got to have some kind of sense. So they brought up the radiation thing. But Adama is, I mean, he's pretty beat up, but he's not burnt. He's not burned up, right? You know what I mean? But they show some blood, which we haven't seen before in the BSG comics, right, JT? They didn't show that kind of stuff,
right,
in the other ones. And then here's again, Teag, the radiation again, right? So they shoot up Adama, but I don't know if that would even help him. I guess it would help him at that point, right? I don't know what the time frame is here between it crashing and they just run into this blazing Galactica with no equipment on. But
yeah, but see, all you have to do is take, well, I don't know if YouTube likes this word, so I'm just going to say you take a supplement and now all of a sudden radiation just doesn't touch you.
Yeah.
They fly around, you know, in these these Vipers. The cockpit's kind of exposed, right? It's glass. Right. Like if their gear had some radiation, like radioactive screening out properties. What am I talking about? Anti-radioactive properties. That would be believable, right? Like their flight suits. Like this whole thing with the injections and stuff could have been like, you know, your flight suit's all messed up and compromised. Mine's fine. And then they could have, you know, rolled out this way to help Adama. I don't see him making it anyway. Didn't he also fall roughly a mile?
Yeah. He
the rest of them?
and he's very, very old. We're figuring at least in his 90s by now he has to be. Because he was an older guy when Starbuck was around. Right.
I'm not gonna lie, I'm rooting for the Reaper on this one.
Yeah. So Dylan makes a comment that he might be too late and we get a good frack. Shut the frack up. So I was like, yes, all right, cool. We get a frack. Haven't got a Felder card yet, but we get a good frack. But then Dylan calls out his own name here with the speech bubble.
He does. He does.
Yeah, Dylan. I'm like, what the hell is going on? Thought they just got it wrong there. I don't.
Because Troy is the one carrying him.
Yes. Yeah. So I got a little confused there and had to go back. And I was like, no, I had it right. Troy's the dark-haired kid.
Yeah.
And then so the military does show up. So a little redeeming thing about where I was like, where is everybody? I'm like, probably running from the burning Galactica, right? They're not getting anywhere near that thing.
And the ridiculous amount of radioactive material still falling from the sky because they just landed a nuke there like an hour ago. Yeah. Now, I don't know what Army protocol says in that situation, but my guess is probably you're not going to be sending in anyone to that area.
No, not at all.
Especially without even having hazard suits.
What was the half-life of the
comic relief crusaders here? And yes, this is the Diamond Comics. It was a special request for somebody. It's the 4-part miniseries. You probably know this already. And yeah, we're tearing into it, man. We're trying to be nice.
What was the radioactivity supposed to be in even like Goldfinger, right? Like that's like 16 years before this. It's like,
yes,
irradiated the entire gold bullion supply for the United States for 57 years. 58.5 be exactly, Mr. Bond. Right? So something like that. Right. Like, we're talking like bad stuff.
Yes. It doesn't make any sense, but it's comics. So JT and I were kind of like, we were supposed to do number 2 last week, but we had so much fun with number 1, we didn't even get to it. But we Teag and everybody else, you know, we all have audience license. We love to have fun with these things, but we always bring up the fact that could you have just a little more common sense? Those Army guys aren't going to be standing next to that ship.
Or at least give them some like contact suits that look like, you know, the Earth of 1980 that they run into didn't necessarily have to be on the exact same path as us. Maybe it could have been a little technologically superior, or at least like, since we're going to use nuclear weapons willy-nilly in this, with like the first chance we get over our freaking capital, maybe, just maybe, we should be good at going into a nuclear fallout zone, because everyone knows that nuclear fallout is up to 15, if not 18 minutes, unless it rains, in which case it's fine right away.
And I do want to point out a comment though. Lady V said very visually appealing. What I would like about this shot is the optics of it. You know, if this wasn't the whole radiation scene, this would be a good fight type of scene, the way they drew it up, right? With him standing there with his gun out, and they're trying to medvac Adama out of there, but it's the whole radiation thing that we're getting at. So Lady V likes the art here. I'm like,
at least put them in really nice. At least put them in like gas mask hazmat suits. There is a chemical, radiological, biological weapon division or units in the U.S. military that would be going in there with some kind of suits that would provide at least minimal protection.
Right.
Not these guys.
She's pointing out the poses are cool. Without, if you didn't know the background of everything that's going on with the Galactica, which is right behind them, it would be a different, we would have a different attitude, right?
Right.
So they get into it with the army guys, and we know what that blaster can do, right, JT? So yeah, Teag in the
whatever the plot demands of it, that's whatever what it can do. It's true. It's true.
It's absolutely true, Teag. That you couldn't have said that better. Whatever the plot demands of it. You have to quote
like the grenades in Black Hawk Down, right? They either blow up very meekly, take the propeller off the stabilizer off the Black Hawk, or they just blow a whole building apart. Just depends on what needs to. Just turn up the volume on the grenade.
Yeah, dude. Sergeant Boomer at the time blew out the whole side of a ship to go out into space with it. And then I made the comment, well, so why don't they just put like 1,000 of those along the outside of the Galactica? It would be better than what they have. If it can blow holes in the ships.
If we saw them using like some sort of power thing, and like if you had taken like one huge shot, like let's say like you're on the ground, like you see your opponent's ship, and you're just like, all right, I'm gonna punk them, and you blow the ship to pieces. Like the next cool thing to do would be to look at your pistol and be like, I have 2 shots left, or just toss it away. It's like, well, that's done, but I punked them.
Yeah, and then they get the speech bubbles right here, Troy Dillon. So they've got them back to the right guys.
If you scroll up just a little bit, sorry,
say up.
Yeah, up? I do like this cell right here.
Yeah, ladies, he's right. It's the posing and the action. You got the billowing smoke. If you weren't talking
the black
about
army boots that would never shine up well enough.
Yeah, and they've got them laced in like the Marines
at that time. The sides of the boots, unless I guess this is their radioactive uniforms. They look more like kind of like G.I. Joe and Cobra got together and combined their gear, don't they?
Yeah, and if I'm correct, the M16s have the handle. Military guys out there in the chat, whoever, that's pretty much true to form for the.
That's a Vietnam era.
Yeah,
1980. So it would still be.
Oh yeah, they were using them. 88. This is 88 in the comics.
Oh, okay.
Here's the 1967 one.
Yeah, so they do a pretty good job with that, being a little accurate with that kind of stuff. But old boy right here lights Dylan's ass up, man, and then he shoots him back at the same time. So they
shot at the wrong one. They were supposed to shoot at Boxy.
Yeah. When
Teag, you have no idea how much I dislike Boxy. It's like Michael Burnham, number 1, persona non grata. Number 2 has got to be Boxy.
I think you're just proving why you're one of the co-hosts of the Star Trek show. Reading my mind.
If you go back
and watch Digging Me, you can get a good look at an authentic original issue M16.
Oh yeah,
in my avatar.
Well, the thing
is that
about
a picture
the
of your dad from Vietnam?
Yeah, it's in context, and I've had it on there before, so I think you're okay.
Very nice. My dad was in the.
Although, after what happened the other night, maybe don't Digging Me. Maybe I'll switch this avatar back. some people are dicks, and some people pray to dicks. It's weird.
Yes. Well,
But if dicks
Stormy
are assholes,
Daniels. Well,
dicks are close
anyway.
to
Yeah.
assholes. Sorry. Team World Police
Okay.
quote.
Anyway, a little bit of a tangent there, but we're back on it, folks.
No, it's a hate from the old days. Issue 14.
This is good too. Does anybody know about this? Like, we're at the age of like top end of lithography is everywhere, right? Offset web is everywhere as far as printing technology goes. There seems to be like a lot of bad inking choices going on here that are just freaking insane. Are we just at the edge of a new technology where we're able to make brighter, more effective ink, or are we just like absolutely hung up on the fact that we've got vellum pages and it's like to the expense of things like having the right people say the right things, and rather than having them yell out to themselves that you need to get out of there, buddy, or you're going to get killed, me?
No, the technology, JT brought it up last week. The technology has obviously changed from the original series, which was early 70s. I'm sorry,
You're
late 70s,
burning
early 80s.
offset web litho plates. You're burning offset web litho plates. That's what was the standard from like the 80s till like maybe this is like the peak of it because they're trying to compete. And then we're going to really start getting into other ways of printing stuff. But offset web it's still pretty big.
Oh, J-Man is here. Hail to J-Man.
Yeah.
Glad to see you up and about, buddy. You and Sean, it was good to see you guys together. And yeah, and you notice the art form, they made the panels like the panels from the Phantom Zone, Superman 2, right? They don't even fill the whole page. They're trying to be creative.
This scene or this picture is interesting. I call this the Han Solo shot, where he's striking that Han Solo pose. I'm not sure the blaster needs to be smoking. I don't remember in the TV show or the original BSG comic series that we wrapped up just before just after Christmas. Yeah, that
it's a laser. Why would it be smoking?
Their blasters in the show were Quentin Tarantino. I'm sorry, J.J. Abrams' City. It was like they had a mirror on the front. They shone a strong light at them, and they tried to get refracted light, and they just moved it around, and they lined up the sound effect to when it caught the light. That was what went on in the Carillion mines, if you look at it. And what people are saying here about like that the technology had improved, that might be a fact, but are we intoxicated with what we could do and just taking it going a bit too far in a few places, even though stylistically it might be designed to be that way?
Yes. Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you.
Yes,
Dave. That's a reference that Teag's dropping.
Oh no, I was answering
it
question
didn't
for
really
Lady
need to be shoehorned in, though. You know, I mean, it kind of speaks right to what's going on. You know what I mean?
It was well placed.
This orange, put them in a better situation room. Even black behind them might have been better. Gray, anything, nothing actually.
Yeah, and then we're missing the meanwhile dialogue box that's so great in comics, right? The little yellow box up here at the top. Meanwhile, I love those
4
little
o'clock
boxes.
frame is just sin. I don't know what else to call it.
My biggest thing is this is a 5-star general. Are the Joint Chiefs even 5-star? Chairman of the Joint Chiefs, or are they 4?
Don't put them. Well, they don't put them in a row. They put them in a
White House earlier today. We have brevet promotions going on. It's like, you know what? Just pull that star out of your desk. We lost most of the Joint Chiefs this morning anyway.
But Dave, I think you're right. If they have 5, don't they put them in a pentagon?
Yeah, it's supposed to be. Well,
yeah.
Maybe back then. I don't know. Maybe back then.
Can this even be the White House? Aren't they maybe in a Pentagon situation room or some kind of skiff somewhere?
They're underneath the White House on the East Wing in a situation room. Panic room.
You'll get them in 57 years. Great.
Yeah. Yeah, and all they're doing is talking about how, look, the Soviets launched back. And they're like, yeah, really? Yeah. And then
so they need authority on their second salvo.
Yeah. But well, they are, because they launched the response to their attack. But we didn't attack them, right? So that was the whole thing from before.
Figure out that there are aliens. Like, they have satellites You
Oh,
know,
we ripped into that on that first issue, dude. It was crazy. It was so bad, that first issue, with the way they did things militarily, sci-fi. None of it made sense, Teag.
their
None of it.
sci-fi sin here is that Earth's tech level is below Earth's tech level.
Yeah. But
At the time it's supposed to
Might
be.
we get one dude. We finally get one dude who has at least an ounce of common sense and said, can we at least consider the possibility this wasn't from the Soviets? And of course, that guy is going to be like, fuck you. No, I got, launch more.
I mean, at that point, I think you should, only because your first strike went off and then they fired their strike. And then you've put yourself in that situation of trying to win a nuclear war. And by not launching another strike, at best, you'll have a draw. I don't know. You're really getting off into some weird, like, who gets completely annihilated more situation here. But I would just say, you know what? Launch the dang nukes.
Yeah. Well,
do we
they force them to do that. That's what happens.
I'm going to just make a suggestion here. People are making, observations about why the color is what it is, and taking it as a true representation. And it is super hot. So how far off could it be? I mean, it's really hot colors. It's cope, like not from the people making the comments, but from the people who created the comments. Not the commenters are not coping. These guys, I don't know what they're thinking, and I think there's a case here. Tell me what you think, guys. You're the comic guys. No color at all would have been better and made for a more serious exchange about the end of the world, because let's have a conversation about the end of the world in a Malv room. Like, maybe put a TV behind them, a map, a situation. Like, this is so underthought.
It's plain. It's very, very plain for a situation room that you have to run the whole country
minimum, right? We throw the U.S. Great Seal of the United States up there on the wall, but there's no a tactical background behind them. It didn't have to be too busy. So a few people working on computers, anything like this shot looks better.
Yeah,
like you said,
you get a little bit. Now. You get a very, very little couple TV screens way in the back. That's about it. And so you're right. This thing should be chock full of everything, right? It's basically everything you had above ground, you're going to have down here so you can run stuff.
Can you back up just a little bit?
Yeah, I'm going to go back because I want to talk about this one guy keeps pressing forward about, these aren't Soviets, man. We're getting reports from laser-based weapons. The fighter guys on the ground are saying, we don't think, they're getting reports in saying this might be contrary to Soviet attack. But what happens is, JT, you are correct. You anti, really, because the president is forced into just going ahead and launching more, right?
Right. If you go up a little bit, speaking of the president, what year did you say this was supposed to be? This comic
88.
is taking place in?
Well, they mentioned it's 88 in the comic.
Who are the two? Who was the president in 1988?
Well, they say it's Carter here. They call this guy President Carter.
Yeah. Why is he the president in 88?
There were two presidents that year, right? Because George W. No, yeah, wait. The election's in 89. It's George
the
W.
election's
Bush.
in 88.
George Herbert Walker Bush.
Yeah.
Daddy Bush.
In 1980, it should be either Daddy Bush or Reagan, right? Is it supposed to be? They said 89. What year?
This is supposed to be 88. 89 would be
1988 was an election year.
Yeah. So Reagan would still be president. Reagan would still be president.
It's his last year. He leaves the presidency January 20th, 1989, with his great speech at the Berlin Wall.
All I'm saying is, if you're making a comic like this, you picked Carter, really?
Yeah.
You were that mad about Ronald Reagan? Probably
Carter referenced UFOs more than Reagan, and maybe the idea was Carter's so much further back. They've made other mistakes, so I don't want to speculate, but could it be that they want to show us this it's a different kind of, or it's a different Earth? And they don't want, maybe
Mhm.
the idea is we don't want to throw Reagan on the griddle. He's popular, but people don't care about Carter. And it's not like he's going to live a lot longer. Let's just make this comic book. Well, how old is he now? 90? He's not going to be around much longer.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then
Let him
he
go
made
build
it
that
all the way
freaking
till
house.
now.
They
That he
say
lived
he's
another
dead,
40
but I
years,
think
30
that
years.
needs to be strongly looked into. I don't believe he's dead.
Yeah. Well, let's see here. So, inoculate against radioactive fallout from the strike. I calculated 93.25% likelihood the white fronted
Yeah.
structure near the Galactica crash is the seat of power here.
How do they know the name?
Well, we go back to Z.
You know, we know the name. They didn't use it. Sorry.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, they're committed to those blue flames. It was a stupid choice. I don't know why. It's like we've never been able to do purple like this before.
I don't know,
We've
man.
got something
GT,
to
like,
it.
you like them, right? GT? Well, in the space shots, they look good out in
In the
space.
space shots, when they enter atmosphere, that like one line in one comic about how they have to inject oxygen into it or something to or their power doesn't work. But now that we've destroyed our freaking base ship, like we need to probably hear that we have a lot of ammo and a reactor to fly on, so we don't need fuel. Because this is a bad idea. We are now in a lot of trouble unless Commander Kane is about to show up.
Yeah.
pretty
In this little shithead Z was like JT said, 93.25% that's the White House. It would have been 100% if he'd have just sent somebody to say hello, you know, because
They don't
out of
have
the whole
Google
world,
Earth.
that's where you show up.
They couldn't hack into our own U.S. Air Force Google Earth that was on Siri by this time.
Right. The I do like this next shot of the interior of the Viper.
Yes. Good monitor and your
Yep.
joystick.
Flight stick, sir. Flight stick.
It's not that radically different from what we saw, although it's like it does look like, hey, check out my new Logitech flight stick. I'm going to use it to take my Viper down to the Titanic and see how deep it can go.
Yeah,
what could go wrong?
It's a good cockpit shot. The helmet's got the lighting done, you know, above the under the visor and under the chin visor block
Does
right there.
anybody know if that would have helped you out or just made life harder? The lights shining in your eyes while you're flying. I was always like on the fence about that as an idea. It's good for us as viewers.
Well, how else are you going to look good on camera? I mean,
yeah,
to hell
like,
if you can see where you're flying. You got to look good.
How come like Starbuck loved it? It's like, how come Starbuck flies so well? Because in the light inside his helmet, he can only see his own face. So like while he's concentrating on how much he loves himself, he just automatically uses some form of the force.
Well, they're probably 4 times the legal limit to operate a flying vehicle. So the bright lights kind of, sober them up a little bit, make them focus a little more. I think that's what the lights are there for.
Carbon Creek was all about drunk driving too, right?
Oh, dude, that guy was loaded. Dylan was loaded in the first issue. But you notice that the monitor, Lady V, if you wanted detail, I wanted to point this out, especially for her that she had brought it up. The monitor, which I'm monitor heavy, love them, actually has the ship, the Battlestar. Look at the picture in this. Now that's kind of cool. Somebody thought to do that, right?
That's what 40 years in advancements in printing will bring you over the original comic series.
Yeah,
where it would have just been a solid color on the screen.
Yeah, and maybe a green round,
yeah,
square with a cross in it as a pointer.
Yeah,
these advancements are cutting both ways because we're not used to using them yet. I wonder if they were even surprised how splashy and gaudy some of these colors are. They're bad. All right, now I see the justification for the blue flames. It's the re-entry fire, which is cool.
Yeah, when it comes to the people, I agree. But JT, you brought up the thing about where are they going to get all the people? So do you want to dive into this mess?
So they get into these I don't even know what you want to call these APCs, civilian conscripted troops. Well, that would be weird if they were military conscripted troops.
It again looks like it was from Cobra, doesn't it? It's like we have a few of these left over from when Joe beat Cobra. We could roll those out.
Yeah. Yeah, and then you look at the picture, you've got some guy, the front guy here looks so scared he's going to poop his pants. And then you've
This,
got an old dude and a lady with her kid with her finger on the trigger.
yeah, there is horrible trigger discipline. Somebody's
Mom?
gonna be getting
Yeah, with her
themselves in the
kid.
face.
She's got a gun right next to his head and she's got her finger on the trigger. She's like, she's going to go
Now,
down and fight our military. That's
you
what's
remember,
happening here, right, guys?
But Dave, you remember the it's the two-parter where the crew of the Galactica goes out there on an ice world with who was it?
Yeah, they find
Was it
they
Adama
find-
or Starbuck with the socialite in Boxy?
Mhm.
And they go out in a vehicle similar to this on the TV show.
Yeah, they call it, is it a ram, something? I should know this.
Something
but
like that.
And
But
I think it's a ram or something.
it looks like this, but not really. Like it
No,
is
it
still
doesn't look like
substantially different.
Those are like Teag said, G.I. Joe type stuff. And,
Yes.
but
Mm-hmm.
it has a Joe like this aesthetic, doesn't it? But my observation here, this is like all those mistakes and the wrong word bubbles and stuff like this. At some point, the guy was like, "Yeah, it's little mistakes, but the guy I show this one picture to is never going to know that when he hires me because this is good." Like you said, it's all over the place. And this one choice of color it's still odd. They have an odd color grading or whatever you want to call it, but it's not just mind-boggling and god-awful at all on this page.
No,
and even the one where they're flying in atmosphere looks great, but the re-entry is amazing.
Yeah, I like this shot. I'm a Viper. I'm a love the Vipers.
Or for them entry, right? It's not the re-entry for them. They've never been here before. It's entry.
Now,
So
I've seen pictures of colonizers before in history books. These people do not look like they want to colonize.
Yeah.
Well,
No.
yeah.
No.
These people don't look like they're about to colonize anyone.
No, not at all. No.
She looks like she has her hair dryer.
She's wearing her bathrobe.
Those Vipers could sweep the skies clean of 1980s planes with no resistance,
No
though,
problem.
without like minimal. Like one guy had engine trouble, sir. We're fine.
Well, this
Like us versus the Iraqi Air Force is sort
this
of
Z
the
guy's
analogy.
given
It's
a-
totally true.
Yeah, and the C guy's giving them this go down there and massacre everybody speech at the same time. If you guys didn't catch on to that, he's like, "This is our dream, and we're going to go down there and take it." And don't. And it's like, God, where is this guy? Where is this C character coming from, man?
I mean, I live on
Landram,
Earth,
thank you,
so I
Buddy
don't-
Hepburn. Buddy Hepburn.
Hey, what's up? I mean,
Buddy
you know
got
what?
it correct. Yes,
I'm from Earth, so
Landram.
I don't like it, but I admire his single-mindedness of purpose. I think that's probably a decent goal if you're going to be an evil dictator or a mad scientist.
Well, he's definitely a mad scientist, that's for sure. But when did they launch all these Vipers, JT? I'm a little confused that the
Where they all
Battlestar
came
Galactica,
from.
I guess they launched all
Yes.
the Vipers out there just
That's
in
it, Monty
case.
Python, right? It's they holy grailed them there.
They holy grail
Yeah.
in there. In this V's given the war speech, and he calls, and this is crazy. He goes, "On the ground below, infested by a race of savages." I'm like, what, dude? You're a scientist. They had a V'ger probe again. He's got a hidden agenda, right? He has to.
What's with this little freaking kid, or is he just messed
Oh,
up from some
he's
sort
an
of
old
like
man.
super brain treatment? Yeah, okay, so he's Benjamin Button.
He's an old man. Yeah, he is.
Butkus here.
Yeah. So there's something weird about this Z character. He's
What I-
self-proclaimed as an old man in issue number 1.
Yeah, when
What
you
I
can
don't
blow away
understand-
in this character suit, I'm sure it's going to
What-
be so weird.
What I also don't understand is he declared Shakira law, and then everybody just listened to him.
All right, I'm glad you brought that up because I'm a big Boomer fan, Ty, and well, Starbuck, everybody fan, but Boomer would not. I thought Boomer was just going to grab him up by his, listen here, you little fracking shit. You're not taking over Jack, but it didn't happen. Right? That was way out of bounds. He just takes over everything. Right?
Can compel ordinary civilians to just get on these ships and be like, here's blasters. You're just going to go start
Well,
rampaging on a planet.
I won't say it, but we mentioned it last issue who this Z reminds us of, right? The compelling part.
Cousin Oliver from the Brady Bunch.
Yes, exactly.
I nailed it.
You're close.
These are some great shots of Vipers, though. I mean,
Yeah,
if
look
you
at
ever
the-
wanted some ship prawn, this is definitely it.
Yeah. The nice little White House there too.
The Capital. That's the
shit.
Capitol.
Is that the Capitol?
That's our Capitol
Yes,
building.
That's the
Yeah.
Capitol. My bad.
Yes.
It's a mile and a half away. I mean, it would
God,
still be
you know
fun.
that. I drove right by it every day. I drove by the lawn over on 4th Street.
I have at
No.
no point in my life been through the doors of that building. Well, I guess that's not true. I
I've
was there
never
as a
been
Boy
into the
Scout.
doors of that building as
That,
well.
that one
was
time.
there-
That one time.
Went out,
In band camp.
yeah, there was that one time as a Boy Scout.
I actually did meet a former congressman in the Capitol. So I was there legitimately and with permission.
I met Hillary and survived. I shook her hand at like a street fair. I was like, yeah, hi.
Yeah.
So how many people could say that?
and survived to tell the tale.
That's what I'm saying. I mean, that
Well,
arm
yeah.
went. That's why I have the mechanical arm. Within a couple of days, it withered and fell off. But yeah.
Yes, absolutely. And this is where I got the
Don't buy Zeppelis
definitive.
for the Hillary for Senator stand.
Yeah. Well, she was in Congress back then, wasn't she? For at least politics.
She had 2 terms
Or
as
her
New
boy
York
was.
senator, but I think one might have been cut short and handed that not maybe a special
Yeah.
election brought in Chillenbrand or whatever her name is, the other lady.
Gildebrand. Yeah.
I don't
Yeah,
care
anyway.
about your earthly forms of government, but yeah, someone like that.
Oh
Yeah.
man. Yeah. So
Let's see.
we get the
Journal and star date January 27, 1980.2.
did I say 88? Yeah, why did I say 88? My bad. 80.
It's January
it's 80.
28th, so I guess George H.W. Bush is still president. We're
80.
1 year off.
No, it's
right?
1980.
1980. I got
1980.
it wrong. Yeah.
We're
We were
7
off.
days
What did
into
I
this
say, 88?
presidential administration, unless they go by different calendar than us, right?
Well, 1980 would definitely be Carter. So then it makes sense they
Yeah.
had Carter.
Because the comic
on
is
there.
called 80. I don't know why. I
Yeah,
said
right.
88.
Because Reagan assumes office January 28th,
82.
81.
83, I thought.
81 to 89.
81. You're right. Sorry.
Then 89 to 93. And then we get William Jefferson Blythe Clinton, one of our Irish American presidents, I guess.
Mhm.
And then he was followed by George W. Bush. And then I don't know what happened after that. I stopped watching the news.
Probably for the best. I mean,
Probably for the best.
I
a
understand
lot
that
of bad Star
Canada
Trek
is.
came after that, Teague. A lot of bad Star Trek.
I've heard that when Cuba sends Canada its dictators, it's not sending its best anymore. It's not sending Fidel. It's not sending Raul.
Well,
They're sending Justin Trudeau.
We get Bob Ross, though. Dr. Bob Ross, who actually like this character.
of course, the capital's being evacuated.
Yeah.
I
It-
don't
Don't
know
get me
why.
wrong. I love you, snowbillies.
And if you guys know anything about DC traffic, right? There's a nuclear aliens are invading. You're not getting anywhere in a car.
No, you're not.
I can
No,
you're
you've
not.
guarantee you
guaranteed that everyone's going. I've driven through
Yeah.
DC. The only way to do it, and I live 5 hours away, right? So when
Mhm.
I have to go to DC, if I'm going further south, the plan is to hit DC at about 10 at night. So you leave New York City at about,
Yeah.
5, 6. So you
Absolutely.
want to miss our rush hour and hit this. So like 7 p.m., hit DC at midnight and cruise through. You don't want to even stop in DC. Gas up in Maryland. Go to the Waffle House.
Yeah.
Good stuff.
You might have radioactive waffles at that point because the
Well,
fallout
now.
drifting in here. He's like, people
it
are
drifts
leaving.
out the
Either
north.
it's because of the giant spaceship in the sky, or because we just nuked it.
Nuked it right on the
I have
cat.
no idea which.
You're right on the Capitol lawn.
Yeah.
They didn't even try like a straight up airstrike first. That was a great chance for these artists to like show like they could draw modern military stuff too. It didn't, you know what I mean? It's like, how about like, or even just like speculative stuff. I mean, this is 1980. You could have had something as simple as triangular delta wing F4s attacking this thing for some kind of show of resistance.
There would be a Navy ship relatively close to fire even back then. Some of the missiles to hit that
Tomahawk
ship from the ocean.
missiles.
Yeah,
I just think these guys like divorced from the idea of owning a copy of Jane's Defense, even in 2009. It's like, God, if the internet existed, you could have known this stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know,
yeah.
there were Tom Clancy novels you could have read if you were going to try to make a Tom Clancy like Galactica story.
Right.
This is the sum of all bad fears for bad stories. The sum of all bad ideas.
But yet again, this guy's just talking about there's a nuclear strike, and because it's DC traffic, he's trying to find a couple of guys who can translate, and he's stuck with the fact knowing that he's pretty much going to be the only one close enough and who knows anything, right? But
It's a good speech bubble.
Oh,
it's a good speech bubble in here. If you go up just a little bit where he's talking on the right, even a smaller number of people capable of translating it. I'm thinking of Frelich at Stanford, Lupo at Harvard, and McCullough at Duke. Maybe not McCullough. Just like,
sorry, man.
Christopher Tolkien's still alive. He could figure it out.
I know.
But how dare he disparage the guy that didn't go to Stanford or Harvard? Come on now.
Yeah, exactly.
Come on. A little elitist, are we?
Just a little. But he takes it upon himself to say that he's the only one. And apparently
and he says, at the risk of his sheer fracking hubris, that he suspects the only person capable of making contact. Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Yeah. Well, considering you're apparently only a couple blocks away, and you probably would have been, because now I think this is why I got mixed up. Am I looking at the White House down here in the bottom right?
Yes, you are.
Yeah, that's why I got it mixed up with that other frame there, because they're trying to do space and distance here, and you guys know the lawn, right? The Capitol lawn. I drove by that on 4th Street, driving up to the courthouse, Superior Courthouse, where I worked at, and so he runs right into the nuclear fallout area with no equipment.
I'd also like to point out at ground zero, less than half a mile from the detonation of a nuclear device, you will not have a building standing.
Yeah, I mean, with the Galactica crashing on its own would probably cause anything near there to just get leveled by itself.
Yeah, what's its power source, and when it goes off, how much of the East Coast is gone?
Exactly. But hey, we're having fun, folks.
But I like this shot. I mean, in context, the shot of him again, like Lady V had pointed out earlier, it's a good shot of him trying to, holy shit, look at this, you know what I mean, kind of thing. You got they're trying here, you know, with the smoke and the some of the damage, right, JT, and a little bitty shot.
Yeah.
You know, with the flag still up there, probably would have been torn to shreds, like you said. None of that foliage would be there,
right?
But
all of it would be completely vaporized into just base atoms.
Unless they had done more of a distant shot to show how far, that he's pretty far away still, right? But it's still a fallout area.
These are lost artistic opportunities. The torn and burned flag. It's not a real American flag. It's a rendering of one in a comic book. You could have had that. Maybe, you know, something like that, like, you know, semi-broken but recognizable buildings. There's a lot of opportunities lost, under-imagined.
Yeah, and we brought that up, that they would do in the original comic. They did some good things, and then some it was like they just didn't care, right? Remember JT, who always talk about the one issue where he figured a couple of guys were just knocking them back and having fun. Nobody was there to tell them how to do it. They just did it on their own. And it was actually a pretty good issue for the most part. It was funny. Had a lot of good humor in it. And then we missed our Meanwhile box again, right?
Yes.
So we're back to the frame before that we originally talked about, JT and Lady V talking about the smoking gun, right? So obviously we know we're back to it. And I almost said Apollo. Boxy Troy is facing off with these guys, and he laid this dude out.
Yeah, he's got about as much compassion as Homelander for these Earthlings.
Yeah, he's pretty pissed now. Well, I mean, because they came in peace and they got nuked, so I guess he's pretty upset.
Alleged peace. Alleged peace.
Yeah.
Then, of course, these guys' hands start just the skin starts sloughing off because they're holding metal objects.
Melting face.
Yeah. They've got about a week at most.
I'd say probably by the end of the day, JT.
Yeah. So with the sideburns that are not Army compliant, fall the F back.
Yeah. And remember, Troy and Grandpa Adama got their shot because that's going to save them.
My God, he does have Elvis sideburns.
Yeah.
Yes.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
At first blush, I was like, it's a bad job on shadowing, but then I looked like, nope, it's a terrible job on a beard, but it's definitely a beard. Or I'm sorry, definitely a terrible job on sideburns, but it's definitely sideburns. So I would point out that sideburns are one of the basic elements of a beard, a proper beard.
Well, that's actually probably the National Guard or something, and he's his real job is DJing at the disco club because it's still late 70s.
He still has to go by the regs. Come on.
Yes.
Anyway, Dylan, hang in there, Dylan. He's breathing. He's like, I'm a bad actor.
Don't worry. These
in a low-budget film.
It's my Oscar scene.
Don't worry, guys. Your opponents are only go 2 weekends a month and 2 weeks a year to train. You've got 30 years of hardcore battle experience on them.
And you're drunk, so you're not even. It doesn't even hurt right now. So
yeah. Oh yeah, he would probably half in the bag.
Yeah.
So, I mean, he got hit by a couple of M16 bullets, right? 5.56 rounds.
Yep.
And he does make
a
joke here.
Lady V that I volunteer. I volunteer for that if we're talking Gal Gadot, but please, limited conversation.
Early Linda Carter.
Oh, Linda Carter. Yeah. Oh God, no one was ever more beautiful. Someone posted something of her and Kiss on X today, and it was just like, it was Buddy Hepburn. We both we both commented on it, and our only takeaway was in the 70s there was plenty of intoxicants that we just can't get anymore, and that's why we don't understand.
Yeah.
Kiss and Linda Carter. Kiss were not playing their instruments. Kiss were being her synchronized dancers, which leads me to believe it wasn't really Kiss. I mean, I just don't see Ace pulling off that dancing.
No.
Also, I love here, Dylan.
Yeah.
He says, "Don't blame them for attacking us. They're only human."
Yeah.
Of all the races I've met.
Well, take shallow breaths, man. He's like, I only can. This is so Earth, huh? Rocking sucks. But we get the time and space shot that I've been talking about, right? So they're just way down here, they're only human way down here, and then you can see some little bit of green here and there, but you can see that they're pretty far away from the Galactica at this point, I guess, compared to their little shadow bodies right there. And you can see all this damage that you guys referenced to, that the Capitol building probably would be, like you said, Teag, at least some damage on it. A couple of the pillars blown away, or half, some chunks of it, or maybe
well, we've seen that the windows are very easy to force, so those would probably be blown in.
Yeah, even if they're bulletproof, they're going to get. Look at the size of this ship, right? That's just the front, not even the whole front.
Little lady was able to break down a window. I'm sure a nuclear explosion a mile and a half away would probably A considerable effect.
So
I
back
did
to
laugh at the discussion, the Tom Clancy discussion going on in here. It sounds like they're talking in Hebrew. Why would the Israelis attack us? The Iranians could be. I'm like, okay, those two languages sound nothing alike, but okay. And then this dude, it's hilarious because people still have a hate on for Iran big time in 1980. The Ayatollah couldn't find his ass with both hands in an instruction manual.
Yeah, the fact that the Iranians
no, but he could hire it out.
Yeah, Battlestar Galactica in their hands and never used it until then. Yeah, okay.
Mm-hmm.
No, but like Spectre might have Battlestar Galactica and the Iranians could rent it. I mean, that's on the table, right?
Yeah, I mean,
sure.
We didn't even have a Battlestar Galactica, and the guy's going to talk about the Iranians.
By the way,
shut up.
Deep freaking issues with the art, especially in the middle frame. That looks like some like pre-Golden Age, not yet there Superman stuff, especially the redheaded like Jimmy Olsen. He could be Jimmy because he's had no features. Look at that guy.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Not their best frame there.
Yeah, at least somebody, that one person, I'm assuming it's the one person who had common sense, maybe aliens? And they're like, no, shut the F up, everybody. I'm serious. The Marines are going to shoot the next person outside. And, well, why? No, dude, there shouldn't be any troops outside. it's so silly, right? You just had guys with melting hands, right? You said JT, then the one have his skin starting to peel off. They're getting ready to fall over. They're not going to make it to the rest of the night, maybe the next day.
Right.
But they keep referencing people outside, like Dr. Bob Ross. He's done for, right?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, he's going to be.
I don't know. That beard might be able to repel a significant amount of gamma radiation.
The funny thing here, Mr. President, they're getting reports of missile strikes in Montana, Kansas, and Nebraska against our silos, trying to impede our ability to mount a counterattack. If we don't answer back now, we won't be able to get the Soviets back. There is the concept of the nuclear triad, though. So if they're just going after silos, B-52s technically would be up there about ready to deliver, or B-2 bombers at that point. Or the U.S. Navy with nuclear boomer subs. Like
my favorite part of the nuclear triad is the Navy sore loser policy. It's like, well, if you win, we'll just surface and wipe you off the face of the earth the next day. So go for it.
Yeah. This goes right back to what JT said. He was kind of have to shoot back, right? Well, that's what they do. They're like, yeah, go ahead. I'm going to start World War III. He goes, launch World War III. And I was like, it's already started, dude. I mean, what are you talking about? You just had nukes land on the USA all over the place. Yeah, it's
so
then he makes the comment. But
so
guys, it's everybody, we get to something good, right? Right, JT? In a manner of speaking?
Maybe.
Well, for me, it was good because it just changed up everything of what we've been dealing with.
Here we have Trelane. This is a scene with Trelane from Star Trek, the original series.
Yeah.
Do you know
what
I'm talking about?
Here? Novice observation. Should we see some musical notes? Is this further proof that there was no hand penciling and it was all computer with comic book sans font?
Well, they didn't think of it. They missed it. Just like you had just said, they missed the opportunity to have something. We were just assuming that this looks like a little kid, to be honest with you. This kid is playing, right? But we get this little shadow here. I kind of scrolled down too far, but this little shadow here to the left, right? I didn't know what that was.
You already know what it is. Oh,
I didn't at first until you go down here and see the red cape. Then I was like, oh, snap. I actually got excited. It was the only thing that the art of the Vipers and then this. I was like, holy shit. Yes. Okay, cool.
And you can see the key grip in the corner there. He didn't really get out, like behind the curtains. You can kind of see his leg and his jeans there.
Yes. My rugby guy, RRTNZ, is in the chat.
Hey, check out RRTNZ. What's going on?
I know France looks good and England looks good, but that's a tough one, man. You know, I'm gonna have to say Ireland. So
My
can't go
favorite
against that.
team is the Dunedin Rangers because that's a real team. It's
Yeah.
the only way I can become a Dunedin Ranger. I plan to move down there and try out for the team. I've watched the sport. I don't think knowledge of the rules is important.
No. Watch out for Italy. They're gonna get some spoiler games in there, I think. Maybe. But hey, Lucifer.
Yep.
Cylon Lucifer is here. And we still have they're still trying to hide the face, but we know who that is now.
Yes.
Right? And they're just kind of laid back hanging out. You know, they're just kind of chilling, and Baltar is living it up here, man. Holy jeez. Look at that crib.
There's something a little charming about playing the music of an extinct people.
Yeah.
Not completely extinct.
Like
We've been over this before.
Well, speaking of missing, they tried to do Lucifer's head. Not very well, I might say. What do you think, JT? Could have done a little better with Lucifer's head here.
It was low effort. It was low effort.
Minimal effort there on the head.
Ooh.
That is not good. But Baltar's a cyborg, where he has cyborg head face from Teen Titans.
And he didn't
Justice
age.
League.
He stayed 50.
Stayed 50. Yeah.
Now, what I don't understand is they say, and you were right, excuse me, the Galactica has landed on the third planet of the system. This system? So you mean to tell me they've been in this solar system completely undetected and they had no idea, hadn't gotten any of our radio transmissions from the 1930s?
Yeah.
At this point, they'd be getting radio transmissions from like 1978.
Oh, yeah.
They're real if they're in our solar system.
Yeah, they could be listening to disco. They're so close.
I would speculate with that kind of look he's giving us that not only is he listening to disco, but he's been down to Earth to Studio 54 to get a few things.
Yeah, yes.
And that's what happened to his face. He slipped on some puke and hit his head on the side of a dumpster out back.
He was a little short in the tab. He's like, I just spent my last denomination of currency. And they're like, well, that's not going to fly at Studio 54, buddy.
So, yeah, we get Lucifer and Baltar back, and they launch out to Earth.
And again, and that's cool. How cool that
is cool. That is cool.
Yeah. Those are the big shots, man.
They should have kept that text out of the middle. It's just needless. Put it in the corner. There's a lot of choices here that suck.
Yeah. Yeah, common sense stuff. That was we always talk about.
It is quite distracting, isn't it?
Put it right up here in the top corner. You
can
don't
draw,
have to say anything.
If you can draw, but if you got a fucking 10-cent brain, it's like a baseball player. If you can get on base, but you're such a fucking chowderhead that you can't read the signs, it doesn't matter. You're going to get picked off every fucking time. And it's the same thing for artists. You could take drawing lessons all day, but if you make stupid choices, even if you're good, and a lot of people just ain't, but even if you're good, look how they kind of messed up their story here and there.
Yeah. You didn't have to say anything because they have to be continued on the bottom. And you've got 1, 2, 3.
You
4,
don't even need
5
you don't even
base
need
stars.
That
No,
at
you don't
all.
need that in.
If you feel strongly about it, combine it with the box in the bottom.
Yeah.
Right?
Is this supposed to be
right
the
next
moon?
to be continued.
Yeah.
I think it's supposed to be the moon. It's made of cheese, if it is.
Only be.
So, yeah, if they're that close,
or Venus,
man, they would have known what was going on already, right? Yeah, with 5 base stars, they're just cruising around, floating around in space.
Yeah,
like,
what the hell is going on?
There's Earth.
What's going on at SETI, right? It's like people aren't like flipping out in like, wherever, like in the Nevada desert at all these listening posts and at that great radio telescope in Maui. They're not like, There's some things out there.
There's
They
more.
change direction at left and right angles, and it looks pretty much like it's controlled by a human hand.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyhow, so we get that last shot. That's pretty good. And so you get a lot of drama. Gets ready. You have no idea what's coming up. But interesting enough, for JT, especially, a couple of the letters they put in, like 2 or 3 of them, for people who actually loved issue number 1. They thought it was great. And I'm thinking, where's
their
the
mom
one?
wrote in.
Where's
Their
the
mom
one
wrote
that
in.
says,
Cousin Dave, that $20 you owe me. You know what? Just write a letter.
yeah, 5 out of 5 and all this? I'm like, okay. Did you not watch the TV show? Did you not read the other comics? I don't know, but they don't put any bad letters.
It's dumb in a different way, but at least it's more readable. And they're sticking the landing here and there. Like the last frame was good. Everything seems to be marred by a bad decision, but like you said, like good and bad on the same page. Like one frame good, one frame bad, one frame just gobsmackingly terrible, and then like something kind of inspiring.
Yeah, it seems to be a theme even for these guys here. And then I guess this is an alternate cover for issue number 3, which is look at this.
I
like this one. This one's really cool.
We need to create brand confusion with Independence Day. Set the White House on fire. People will like that anyway. Yeah, people will. It'll sell well in Canada, sir.
I liked it. But then the White House isn't on.
I got you.
Yeah, but then it's not on fire in the comic.
Thank you.
See, if this were a cover of a novel, I would check this out at the library and read it.
Yeah, this cover should have been. I don't know if you saw our cover when I think you were in the chat. It's just Dylan on the front. That was it, right? And this little picture of, I think, the Capitol or the White House on the bottom. Can't remember.
They don't speak
this
the same language as
better.
us, but they have the same names.
Yeah. Dylan is not a biblical name either, I don't believe.
Well, Bob Dylan is in the Book of Revelations. He's middle-aged. Him and Biden are talking to John of Patmos about some of the things that are in the Book of Revelations. And I think it's Biden who starts tripping out and talking about the whore of Babylon and the many-headed beast. But I could be wrong. I've only seen pictures on a Nokia, and you know how bad the photo quality was on them. And you know what?
I used to have a flip.
I was playing a game called Serpentis on it. Like it was like a previous proto version of Snake. The old Nokias, very, very difficult to read.
Yeah. That game was impossible on those early phones too.
I had that little flip one.
Oh god,
2003, 2004.
Who here has broken a Motorola Rose, the first generation Motorola Razor, flipping it open like a Star Trek communicator, and it flipped out of your hand, or the back popped off and just went flying? I did that twice. It didn't sink in the first time. I
was still getting free phones from mom and dad from Nextel at that point. So it,
Yeah, no, I had the Motorola Razor flip phone that it flipped open like a communicator, and it's like I think they were using them on the X-Files too. So I felt so cool.
That was a bomb ass phone for 6 years?
Yeah, until you flip it open and the top part goes flying across the room.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. I mean, I remember the text and everything. I liked that old Nokia, but didn't do much. But I was making phone calls from the barracks phone. We actually had a phone on the wall,
right?
And had to dial.
Wow.
Yeah, back in the Marines when I was in Japan, back 2002, 2003.
When I was Sicario in a drug war, we had a similar thing. When I was before I really made it up to full Sicario, I was just a capo.
Yeah. Well, guys, do we want to do number 3, or do you want to save it? It's only a 4-part series.
Let's save it.
JT,
let's save it. Let's save it. It's already quarter to 11 Eastern. It's going to take us a lot of time to get through the next one.
So I should take it, Teag, watched the movie, but it's been so long you can't remember it. That's my position right now. That's what I'm.
Kind of remember more of the movie than is useful to enjoying the franchise. That second movie you're talking about, the 1981.
Yeah, the
Everything
actual
was
81.
it was a little batshit because what happened was, I mean, if you wanted people to be happy, first of all, like you go to Earth in like 6 minutes. Like, you know what? Maybe play cat and mouse at the edge of the solar system. Maybe have it out the Cylons once or twice. Have to leave and come back. Anything but go to Earth. You know, because that's your terminus point. Now you're just another Earthbound show. It's like it's a weird, different science fiction, and you have the equivalent of they're using it like a shield hover carrier in this freaking thing. So in the show, with all the motorcycle action and the weird double vipers and the not so reimagined stuff, and it seems like they gave up in the middle of creation, and they had like a proxy Earth that they had at the end of BSG 1, where they had like the northern and the was it the eastern and the western factions, and the east was like the evil like Yahtzees, and the west was a little more free, and they only could really get around their own solar system. They should have stayed in that and pretended that was Earth. It was like or like been under a misnomer for a while. I don't know what they thought they were gaining by getting to Earth.
Yeah. And it's like, I don't understand the thought process, but again, this was a reimagining by that guy. What's his name? Guggenheimer? Yeah, Guggenheim. Mark Guggenheim. So
it's decent as far as art goes here and there, but like again, like this technology may have been bleeding edge comics, colors and stuff like that, crazy stuff.
Yeah, you just throw the whole radiation stuff out the window, and they try to make up with it for a couple of shots here and there, to save Adama, obviously. But it's a theme that JT and I noticed in the other. They have to do certain things. We don't really know why, but they do it to push forward things. Like Adama wouldn't have survived that crash, I don't believe, but he has to get the radiation shot, though, right? He has to, or he's definitely not going to survive.
I think what happened was, off frame, a strong woman probably advised him the best way to survive it, right?
Yeah. It's just so convenient. The Vipers would have all this stuff, right? Oh, radiation
stuff. Athene is the one talking.
Syringes this big.
Like I said, their gear being somewhat resistant to radiation, but being messed up because of the battle would have been a much more believable thing. Then maybe fight your way to the sick bay would have made sense. If we're going to put soldiers there anyway, give them a goal, right? Then like get back and give Adama his anti-idiot medication and then his anti-dying pills. Because first you need him unstupid. Because if you're going to stay dumb, you might as well have him die.
It looks like the troops running out there. No troops are going out there.
But in the world of military matters, what in second in command, JT, if we were on the bridge of a Constellation starship, you're second in command. You know what? Well, Dave C's second in command. This is his channel. You're science officer. You guys don't relieve me when I'm like, we found an industrial society, sir. It's spacefaring, but not warp. And I'm like, let's appear over the capital of their largest. Like you guys, you're out of your mind. Non-directive,
right?
Even if we don't have a prime directive, you're like, sir, they have nuclear weapons. We'll mess up their planet. They'll always hate us. They're on the path to being industrial. Maybe just have you thought about calling them? Maybe if we have hot women on this ship, sir, we can send some of them down. Have you seen what Boomer looks like in this iteration of BSG, sir? She's pretty hot. We have bikinis, sir.
Yeah, it goes back to what JT said about the Living Planet one, where they don't scan it enough. You don't know that the damn planet is alive, but you have a Battlestar Galactica flying through space, and the most technological Viper, fighting ship ever created. The Viper, but you can't scan a damn planet. It doesn't make any sense, right?
This comic series is pretty obvious that it was some kind of weird fan fiction out of somebody's notebook in high school when they were supposed to be paying attention to math class.
But they don't even have a first act. You're on Earth and your ship, which was your home, and the titular item in your pantheon that you paid this licensing for is destroyed. So now
Yes.
Battlestar Galactica, this is like Batwoman when she in 6 minutes into the opening episode, she's in the suit. It'll be perfect when it's made for a woman. And the next scene, she's got it on. It's like, what the hell?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean,
I was not expecting a Batwoman reference here, but hey, that was not on my bingo card for today.
You guys are the comic experts, so I could only bring humor and observations. So, but I did work in a printing place for a while, so I do know like the qualities of printing in this era.
Yeah, well, you're not too far off. And even Hungry Boy got mentioned in the chat about the inking and the writing and lettering and stuff. I was like, yeah, he wouldn't be agreeing with some of this, especially the common sense stuff. The common sense is what really gets you, because you have the time to draw it because you drew all this other stuff. Just use a little common sense every now and then, even if to push narrative along is one thing. But issue number 1 of this would be like issue number 14 of the other one, right? JT, the number 1 worst issue.
Right.
Which just beyond reckoning. And everybody else out there probably remembers it, how bad it was.
Well, I have
and it was radiation themed. It was a radiation themed episode too. Remember that, right? Boxy and the Daggett. Well, Boxy ran into the thick of the ship, the radiation room, the whole heart of it, right? He went in about 10, 15 feet, collapses. The Daggett goes in to save him. And the radiation's so bad that the Daggett collapses and starts melting, but not Boxy.
Boxy just gets up, walks out, is totally fine the next issue.
He's in bed. He's in bed for 160.
I want to make an argument for something that's come up as favor of the misattributed thought bubbles, where people are yelling out things that they clearly shouldn't be saying. As I was editing earlier today, JT had a few profound things. So what I did was I just cut it out and re-recorded myself saying them. So I keep a misattributed thought bubble, and I'm working on an AI of JT's voice to put my stupid observations into his mouth. But yeah, that's we got to retcon things. You know what? It's in the whole bad robot thing. It's like the mystery box of like what will be retconned in the upload of Saving Star Trek.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Admiral gets smarter every time.
Oh yeah, of course, of course. Well, the Admiral that didn't get any smarter was Adama in this.
What was one Admiral to another, bro?
Bro,
you showed up in the most aggressive, overtly frightening way. That you literally cast the shadow of your big planet, but potentially. This ship could have messed up Earth if you were in a high Earth orbit out of reach of our weapons. It could have just kicked off any incoming nukes because they would have been on inertia by the time they got that high, right? And just even if all you have is those anti-aircraft turbo lasers on the side of the ship, when they borrow a term from Star Wars, you could strafe the planet forever and just be like, I just want like a grid pattern over their farmland, but first take out the hospitals. I want them to be hopeless and miserable.
Yeah.
Or you could infiltrate them. You could do the Ferengi thing and go for the best deal.
You should try calling them first. You're indistinguishable from these people. You are indistinguishable from these people. You have the capacity to listen to their audio. Assuming they had 1980s tech, like if I'm them, I'm be like, if seriously, this is me. If I'm Adama, this is Admiral Teag saving. If Colonel Teag had taken over. And you know what? I resemble Colonel Teag greatly. I look like a white Will Smith. So if Colonel Teag had taken over and been like, I am Admiral Teag now, and I will make the calls to this fleet. Here's what we're going to do. All right, let's get together some hot women and start training them to be hot. I want them jogging all day, and we're going to watch that to motivate us while everyone else, we're going to learn their language. You're going to land in front of their White House in our least dangerous ship. We're going to land in the country on Pitcairn Island. In our least dangerous ship, and we will begin transmitting in a friendly code, making contact first with sailors. We will demonstrate our power level, slowly rolling it out. And by the time we get back there, we'll be able to communicate with them, and we'll be like, We got no problem with you, Earth people. We want, some of your areas here. We're gonna need some food, but like in exchange, like when the Cylons show up, and they will, you got us. You better start making weapons. We'll give you our schematics. Here's our tech, and everyone would be like, hey, we could grow enough food to feed the whole colonies on that one ship. So.
And it's like JT said, how close are they in the solar system? Well, shit, they're as close as the damn moon. What?
They're visible by our own naked eyes at this point. It's stupid.
Yeah.
And not only did the colonials never detect them, you're right. Earth didn't detect them. They're just
no scientist is looking out at the most obvious place, the fucking moon.
What gets me the most sometimes
is when they're so only Pink Floyd knew they were there, right?
Or Transformers.
Where's your smart sci-fi where they're like, we're hiding behind their moon, we're hiding behind, it's like, this was why Picard 3 was so stupid. It's like, let's hide in the storm on Jupiter, which is visible to Earth, and let's take up most of the storm, meaning that their ship was visible from Earth with tech that we have.
Yeah. Well, for me, it's like when they make characters that we know aren't stupid. Like this Dr. Z taking over, and one of you guys had mentioned it in the chat too.
Yeah.
About how he's just taken over, and somebody, especially Boomer, because now he's second in command. It's not that he's just Sergeant Boomer; he's Colonel Boomer, and this whole time he's been in second command. He's not a chump. He's got the rank now too, right?
Well, you have a military leader, and you have the Council of 12.
Right. This dude's just nothing but he's just a scientist.
My first move would be against the Council of 12, personally. Something you easily go wrong with that ship. Yeah, they're a real problem. What they need is my military vision.
Yeah, and when you go against making Adama look, not making a bad decision is one thing, where they might bring it back as part of the plot line or a theme. But to make him just look so stupid is that what we keep talking about in the same thing of issue 1, doing what they did. It's just it makes no sense. That's what gets me.
This was so lame that what they should have done was had the Earth Defense Force be like a fucking clone of Star Blazers or actual Star Blazers.
That's the second time I heard that
BSG versus Star Blazers would be pretty cool. Both ships are fairly similar. But like maybe the Yamato has an advantage because the wave motion gun might just blast the Galactica in two.
Did I put this?
But it takes 5 minutes to charge.
I think I put this one up for you, JT. I think I'll put it back up for you. Yeah. Well, this issue wasn't as bad as issue 1 because that's what brought us to the whole Galactica crap. But I think they did a little bit better on this one, except for the whole radiation stuff.
We know exactly how long passes. They pass the moon on July. They get the transmission July 20th of July 21st, or sometime within years of July 21st, 1969. That's when the transmission they miss is, right? And then they put a pin into it. That's like basically 1970, right? So 1980 is only like 35 years later.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. So
it's like they just skipped some of it. They're like, or they just don't know. I mean, which one is it?
Like from 12 to 30 in those 10 years, those roughly 11 years.
Yeah. And as far as the comic, this particular one, number 2, the artwork seemed to be overall better, except those meetings, the faces and stuff. But it's okay. We saw that in the old school comics too.
Yeah. These guys are action people, right? They're not good at bodies. They're good at planes. Like, I wouldn't be surprised if a lot of these people came from like Transformers or something, where they didn't draw a lot of people. Some of their people they had some good people here and there, and they had a lot of great action poses, especially like, what's it say at their best frame of a human was the guy who was being shown from behind, defiantly staring down some kind of like, what was it, an apocalyptic fire or machines, onslaught of like robot-like soldiers. And they gave those soldiers the most robot-like suits. They were like almost like Borg drone level dehumanized, and they weren't very proportionate. There were some problems there.
Oh, and the chat, I'm kind of, it's almost giving me goosebumps. People talking about Star Blazers and Yamato. You don't hear it very often. Again,
Yeah.
some of the stuff I used to have, I had the DVDs for those. I think I sold them with a bunch of other stuff, this clear out stuff. But thinking back, I was like, you don't want to ever get rid of something classic like that. You keep it and you give it to somebody, and when it's your time, you know what I'm getting at. But that's the third or fourth time somebody's mentioned Yamato and Star Blazers in here, and I'm thinking back on it, man, it was so good, right?
Yeah. On,
I mean,
on
for the
Lost
time.
on Lost Gear, all I'll say is like my ex-wife has Han Solo in the Tauntaun, but I'm hoping that like one day it'll come back to haunt her that she probably doesn't know and has not checked that there's a considerably arrestable amount of cocaine underneath Han Solo. But that was my younger days.
Oh, dude.
So where did this come from, huh, lady?
Yeah,
No,
right.
It's really cool to see people bring up some older stuff like that and compare it to this stuff now, because the art is different. The covers are great. I didn't really I don't know why they chose that cover, JT, just the Dylan and Troy, instead of that awesome cover with Adama.
I'm wondering if that's an alternate cover.
It's an alternate
might...
cover. Yeah, it could be that the White House was on fire, but it wasn't in the comics, so somebody said can't really use it. It's not, that doesn't happen. I don't know. Who knows who makes these decisions?
What the hell went wrong with their color schemes? It's like there was a sale on hyperactive red. Write the story around it. we have a level of purple that is just going to give people tumors.
We could show you, JT and I could show you some of the color schemes that they were very limited, especially on the video that I did with JT and Hungry Boy talking about how things were done. That was an excellent video by him. I hope he's doing well, by the way. I haven't heard from him in a couple of months. But when we were talking about the color schemes, they were very limited. But again, we also go to choice, right? Sometimes they were just like, screw it. Right, JT? You can tell.
Right.
It's like you said, Teag, one pane, excellent. The next one just, what are you phasing? Are you phasing in out? Oh gosh, dude, you're like the guy who gets fragged in the transporter.
Yeah. I think what we're starting to see here, though, is why this thing only went 4 issues. They ran out of gas way too fast. It was
they threw everything they had into that first issue.
Yeah,
they threw everything they had. Yep. There's no Battlestar Galactica. There's no shot at working this out with the humans. There's no way you can go up against the Cylons anymore. Like what happened? Like, are we supposed to believe that maybe the entire complement of Vipers has been launched so they can take on maybe one base star? We saw 5?
That's it right there, Teag. I brought that up earlier. Remember, I said, well, when did that happen? Well, okay, audience license, but you've got every single Viper in the air. When did that happen? Well, now we know why. You just called it out. They have to have done that now, right? But where are they going to fuel up? Where are they going to land? I mean, where are they going to go out in space?
Well, what's the point in even landing? Because thousands of nuclear missiles between 2 superpowers were just launched at one another. Well, I don't think people realize the planet's already effed unless the Cylons stop the missiles in midair in like the next 20 minutes at most.
Once that plan was exposed and they had told them what they were going to appear over their capital of their most powerful nation out of nowhere, what could possibly go wrong?
Right.
We don't see this, but there was a thing where it's just like, Admiral Adama, what the fuck are you talking? This is the stupidest idea ever. There's off-screen mutiny where everyone goes running for for their ships, and it's just it's every man for themselves.
If somebody says it's a trap later on, I'm going to lose this.
It's a trap. If they can somehow put this freaking Humpty Dumpty ship back together again and put it in space, I want a breathalyzer installed by Adama's station before he gives any more of these freaking orders.
And I want to like them. I like the number 2 better than number 1, but you just nailed it. That's a rough one to come back from, man. After issue 14, JT and I were like, they have to talk about something else, or it's going to be you have to have a complete disconnect from what just happened in issue 14 with the boxy radiation and Buddy and all them know because they were here for that one. Holy cow! You thought,
You know what it
man? I
is?
had to restrain myself from being so mad. But
I have an assertion that I
yeah.
don't know. It's like, here's a thought. The biggest
It's
show
crazy.
on TV that year was what?
Yeah,
Survivor.
It was Lost. So what are we doing?
Okay.
We sat down and we thought, like, well, what made Lost work? Well, we had like everything go crazy. We had a crash. We had like insanity. Everything was batshit, extended in confusion, just like conflict and screaming. Let's make that into a comic book. And it's just like they're building this mystery that's just like, do they understand that they blew, like, what's to watch this read this Battlestar Galactica comic for? The titular ship is gone. The boobular ship is gone. We don't have the battle. I mean, honestly,
You don't
the only
have
thing to save
Starbuck.
this,
You don't have Apollo.
if you guys have read ahead, maybe this saves it. Maybe freaking Living Legend 2.0 and like Kane shows up with another Battlestar. Because aside from another Battlestar showing up, we got fuck all to fight these goddamn Cylons who are on the in sight of Earth as well.
With 5 or 6 base stars at least. I counted at least 5.
There was 5 or 6 base stars
least
in
5.
that picture, and they're just like they're not going anywhere else based on what I saw.
So I guess anybody
we could have played cat and mouse at the edge of the system forever with this and had fun.
Yeah, and the only thing that we can hope for is exactly pretty much what you're saying. I won't spoil alert number 3, other than Boomer does say something. I won't get into too much of that, so I kind of went through it really quick tonight, so I don't remember too much of number 3 other than that, to be honest with you. We'll get more of Z and stuff like that, but yeah, dude, it's like, where are you going with this? This doesn't make much sense unless something as dramatic as 6 base stars, the opposite coming back at you, right? That's exactly what you're saying. What are you going to do now? You've only got 2 issues left.
Think about what you could do to Earth or whatever's left of that fleet. The cloud of raiders that those things are going to release.
They've got mushroom clouds all over the place now, though, right?
The Battle of the Death Star 2 was nothing. Like when they fly into that like cloud of TIE fighters, you know what I mean? Like that's just like the first wave. There's like 60 more. 5 base stars.
Yeah, well, Lady V and RRTMZ, it's kind of like, man, we followed the series, we read the other comics, and then, boy, you better come up with something good, man, and come up with it quick. Like, what'd you say, 6 centons from the moon? Dude, they're already here. That's just the moon for them. That's nothing.
Well, Teag, never tell me the odds.
Yeah,
never
it's
1 in a million.
To none that we finish this stupid fucking story by having, like, I don't think they're going to get the funding for the 5th, what is it, planned for 6 issues? Wow. Where do you go from here? This had to be decanonized to do any more BSG because your ship's gone.
Yeah, and I'm trying to like it. I'm trying to like it because this is a request. It was a good request.
He doesn't like us.
But I'm like,
this is like we bought a Superman comic, and on page 26, Superman flies into the moon, and like it's like, well, it turns out the moon had a kryptonite core. He's dead. It's like, okay, and we're just gonna go forward as Superman. It's like, well, Jimmy and Lois can go from here.
And Lois Lane gets deleted by like an anvil falling from
of all things. Of all things.
In pre-Golden Age rendering level art, their people were bad in general.
And again, guys, I'll just go back to that. They didn't really put it out there except in that one little letter that it's a reimagining, right? So we have to go with, and I'm not defending it. I'm just saying, like I said earlier, just for everybody else who might have missed it, the Guggenheim guy this is kind of his thing, or they turned him loose, right? And JT, I'm going to be honest with you, when I read some of this number 2 again, other than Baltar and them coming, and Baltar and Lucifer coming back, I was
you read that number 2.
If there were only some means that someone could devise that the weapon would be just like a nuclear weapon but not radioactive, and you could say it in the script, if only someone could come up with an idea like that, all of a sudden geez, I guess they could have saved the story. our new X weapon that does like, it's like, the cyclotron, like they had these things that already happened in our world, just grandfather them back. Like the cyclotron from the 1950s developed these like special weapons. Like we got to use one right away. It's like, well, why did we develop them if we didn't? It's like, where did all that taxpayer money go for in the first place? It could have been justifiable that we had some non-nuclear means of effing up their ship, and why they couldn't just wound it so bad that it limps away into orbit. Like, why? It's done. This thing is a mass of burning rubble.
See, Teag, I actually have a theory about where this is going after issue number 2. See, now the colonists did mess with the Voyager space probe, and I think in the future battle, Cylons will get a hold of Voyager and mess with the programming and jump away with it into deep space. Now, we do have World War III in the 1980s, so the eugenics wars are coming up in the early 90s. I mean, it lands perfectly for Zephyr Cochrane and the rest. So this is really just a backdoor Star Trek prequel. There you go. There you go.
Yeah.
It's the only way.
And it's just, hey, I'm going to write this crazy stuff, and that's what I'm doing.
Yeah. Yep.
And we know there's no reason that this couldn't have happened, because we know that although it's within a time frame of the period of time that the trouble was happening in, 1984 and 1994 are pretty much just fine, except for one isolated pocket in 1990. Was it in 2023 that was a little messed up? With like the Cisco riots, where he gets angry and goes out there and he just wants things and he starts busting up his neighborhood, and he's like, Deep Space Nine matters and whatever. I never liked that. I'm just not a DS9 guy.
Sure.
Oh, did I show this one? Where did it go? Did I show that one? Time travel. Save the day.
If you could do a recent, I said that earlier. Like that's about the only what do you do? The only way to get around time travel.
You write yourself into a corner in the first 2 issues. I mean, that's pretty. That's a bold move, Cotton. Yeah,
that's so JJ.
That's a bold move, Cotton.
You know what? Here's one. I can save this. How about this? All of a sudden, the same ship jumps out of like a singularity of some kind, and one of those jumps to hyperspace. We encountered like space quark storms, and they split us into 2 ships that were exactly mirrors of each other. It turns out we can save ourselves after all. In fact, that was the other ship. That was the hived off one. We're the originals.
Yeah,
that's like 3 episodes of Voyager right there.
Unless in number 4 they pull off the gender swap Starbuck coming back from the dead to save everybody, right?
Gender swap Starbuck. It's weird. BSG and Enterprise are the exception that prove the rules, but I think it was because they were first, right? Prequels of a prequel that were sequels to a sequel, but they didn't.
I meant her coming back from supposedly being dead, because we haven't heard anything about Starbuck in this yet. Just Apollo,
right,
and that was very little.
They've committed to female Starbuck in this book, then?
No, I meant that. No, it would be that Starbuck would show up in issue 4. Hint, hint. But I haven't read 4 yet, so I read 3.
I wonder if they stayed faithful to that. He was like stalked by the Queen of the Scavenger Junk People pirate storyline that they did. It was the best one in the first comic. That was the best one.
Oh yeah, the Scavenger Queen was something else too.
Yeah, that went on for 2, 3.
They come back again for 3 more. They kidnap Starbuck and they write him off for dead. Everyone thinks he's dead. Then he escapes them. He comes back and tells the story. Then they do some BSG things, and then all of a sudden, like the junk people show up again with like a bigger fleet than they have, and they're like, well, "Let's talk about this stuff again."
And they have a spacesuit battle too. I remember that
in the comic called "Hell Hath No Fury." That's the culmination of the junk people storyline.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
I believe it's
a crazy name to put on a book for children, but whatever.
Well, because it was a woman's scorn, because he
that escaped
was the
comic before's title.
Yeah.
Well, the one after, I think they used both parts of it, maybe not in a row, but that was that arc. That was a decent storyline for them and a decent recurring like you could have anything happen with that enemy, and you could have them be powerful or you could beat their ass, and they weren't the Cylons. It was refreshing when we had to go up against them, and sometimes them swapping teams because they were so factional, it was cool.
Yeah. And for the comic book people out there, Diamond Publishing, the big publishing, is filing a bunch of videos out there now. It came across my feed that I was doing on with some work early this morning, sent it out to a couple of people and jumped all over the comic book people because it's pretty big news that Diamond Publishing is filing Chapter 11 relief.
Yeah, I want to announce now that I've made an offer.
Yeah, $5.
Breaking
$5
news right now.
Five
Actually,
cubits.
I'm gonna be
5
generous.
cubits.
$5 was what they got. Yeah, $5 was what they got for the CW. I'm offering 20. 20 American.
Well, maybe Netflix will
I
give me
need
the
to borrow
rights to
15.
Cowboy Bebop for all my
Right.
anime people out there. That travesty that they made.
What's your
I'll
wish
give them
for?
$100. Give me the rights back. You guys
don't-
destroyed it, and you're doing nothing with it. Cowboy Bebop is a treasure, right? That's probably one of my number one favorites. I have a few others, Star Blazers, but I give you $100 to give me the rights to Cowboy Bebop because you ain't doing shit with it. It's just sitting on the shelf right now doing nothing. You
There's
know, you
an
don't deserve the
Xbox
rights.
game called Power Wash Simulator, where you power wash like garbage off stuff and like like clean things. You need to release that game with that franchise and have like Cowboy Bebop Power Washer, where you power wash the character back to its right or gender. It's like it's like melts away and it's like underneath it's like all clean and normal and it's the character you remember again.
Yeah. I'm interested to see how they're going to draw the Cylons in this. I mean, they've only got 2 issues left. My hopes aren't too high, but you never know. I mean,
maybe they reimagine them into something cool. Maybe we have 2 kinds of Cylons.
Reimagined them.
Might be cool.
Lucifer was not the greatest, but like the thing is,
he was cool.
Was
he was
terrible in this comic? I'm saying like he wasn't drawn the greatest, but at the same time, like based on the Lucifer or Lucius, whichever one they want to call him, that we had, is it that terrible of a representation? Because both are a little Mr. Roboto-ish.
Yeah.
I mean, it was bad, but like again, like these guys seem to be able to draw machines and equipment and gear better than people. So the Cylons that we're thinking of, these aren't the Cylons we're thinking of. Lucifer is sort of like a humanish Cylon, so of course they F them up and they go for Dutch angles on everything too much.
Yeah,
a lot of bad choices. But
too.
The more robotic Cylons, I have hope that they could possibly, that might be their strength, because story's not their strength.
If we even get them, because they may not have really known that they were only going to get 4 issues. So we may never see more than shadows of the Toasters. Just
I think this was
be
prepared when the
to have your expectations subverted is all I'm saying.
When the publishers saw these 2, they were like, we're pulling the plug on 5 and 6. Maybe someone else will fund it down the line. People will be curious about your story. That'll show if it's really worthy. We're not, this is a dog. Because honestly, I can't stress it enough. This is like having a show called Enterprise where in the first episode you blow up the Enterprise.
Yeah, pretty much.
And the rest of the show takes place in the Columbia.
And no Daniels. And no Daniels.
So what are they going to do?
Yeah, and Mr. Prideweather is the captain because Archer like nobly sacrifices himself with radiation injections.
Well, other people have Indiana Jones melting hands already, you know, and it's like those guys are done. And then the Marines outside, they're the one damn Marines out there. They ain't putting nobody else out there, man. Are you crazy?
Right.
But I can tell you that nonsense, and I'm not going to tell you what it is, but that kind of nonsense gets worse. Number 3.
Oh no.
I think it's because after number 1, they were kind of told like, what the hell? And they were probably blown out of there. And then when told about the plans for number 2, they're like, it's going to be great though. We're going to crash the Galactica on the White House lawn. They're like, out of our office, out now. And like, so they were just like, this is all about the best art we can do, and like the story, like it's just like anything to serve the pictures from here on in, because we need jobs. We need splashy stuff we can show people and be like, yeah, with a good writer, I could do something. Because I think they're abandoning ship here. This is all
I think so
spectacle.
too. I think it was probably best for me to read that line saying that he was this is a reimagining, to know that they only put 2 letters in this issue, that 5 out of 5, but no letters in the next issue or this one that had any negativity. The writing's on the wall. Maybe JT, I think you might have been right
After
about
2
that.
issues, that writing went up pretty damn quick.
Yeah, and look, people like it. They like it. We don't knock anybody for that kind of thing. We knock, and I'm going to kind of speak for you because we've all said it. Some of that common sense is it's beyond Twilight Zone bullshit, man. It's unrealistic. It's regrettable almost. But this is what we have, right? So I'm just going to try the best.
It's so bad, it's good to them.
Yeah, I'm just going to try.
If that's you, more power to you. You know, I'm not going to knock you for that, but I can't ignore the issues with this.
No,
right out of the gate.
You can. If you're a fan of sci-fi, if you're a fan of BSG, I think the audience knows when we're being too hard or not hard enough. People talking
to each other in the right speech bubbles. I mean,
I mean, and the speech bubbles were poor choices too. I don't have to be a comic book artist to say that when they were having the contentious over talking scene where everyone's at the big conference table in what's supposed to be a sit room, they didn't feel like drawing TVs on the walls or anything like that, or any sort of information feedback. 24 is on TV at this point.
Yeah, the crappy one's like, way in the back. That's all they had. That's not a situation.
They didn't even have guys at old school workstations. You know what I mean? Like, say, like in the back, we see a bunch of uniform Marines, just like terminals, hardwired. Nothing to make it look high tech. Nothing to make it look good. But their speech bubbles, they didn't have like, say, an incongruous quality where they were popping or had asymmetric, you know what I mean? Like explosive sort of speech bubbles where it's just like showing that they were shocked. It was just like, they could be aliens. We could all be killed. This is really terrible. What are we going to do? Everyone might die. And it's just like mundane.
Nuke the shit out of everything.
Yeah, it was like they polka dotted the top of their frame with just these terrible comments, right? And what you could have had was like use the colors and use some other imaginative ideas, inking them in different fonts or something, but you're married to this bad. I honestly think this was typed out on a PC with Comic Book Sans.
Yeah, and the only humor line you got was like four words from a dying dude. Frickin' sucks. Earth, yeah.
Yeah, and I just want to point out that if they had a doctor there, they would have been like, "He's died of embarrassment, sir." Read the story. He did his best. He got as far into it as he could. The rest of us just have no shame. That's why we're alive.
Yeah. But they should have moved the president out to like Sulphur Springs in West Virginia, done that kind of evacuation. I mean, maybe not all the way to Cheyenne Mountain.
He looks like that era Harrison Ford a little too.
Well, I'll give you a little hints. You guys have touched on some of the stuff that is going to show up in 3, but some of it gets worse.
The idea that you would evacuate the president now kind of makes it worse in itself. It's like, no, what could get worse? He's got a lethal dose of radiation that we're going to blow off and pretend didn't happen. What are they going to give him an injection too? Then we've got like a White House that's been destroyed, but like the area's been destroyed. The White House is still standing. And the right thing to do is like, I'm going to be a Chad, man. I'm going to like build a lead shield towards the crash debris, and I'm going to stay in the White House and like do the work of America.
Yeah, and it is and for fans of sci-fi and comics and all that, a lot of the little things add up to make things better. That's why we like certain comics or don't. And when you have a pile of the little things, a pile of what, then people kind of lean to this isn't good. Unfortunately,
they're very limited. Look at their choices as far as like when we saw Athena, she was always behind a computer and only seen from like the shoulders up because they can't draw women, I guess is the thing. They avoided it too many times for me to believe they can. They have to show me they can now.
Yeah.
Good point.
They had some hot women, and I mean, you talked about it. What's her name? You're a
The social lady. Yeah, she was
from,
all right.
no, from Scavenger World.
Yeah.
Smoking
Starbuck did a series of the paid companions. They're well compensated.
Yeah. So, anything else on the mind, guys, or anything you want to talk about sci-fi related?
I'd like to just give it a rating before launching it into my trash compactor.
Go for
let's
it.
See.
Sorry, go ahead, guys.
I give this thing a D-. Only because 3 and 4 might be worse, and I need somewhere to go from there.
Well, I mean, compared to 1,
pragmatism that the writers didn't have, JT.
Yeah. Admiral, do you do a grading scale, or I mean, we pretty much kind of know how you feel about it.
It was an A. It was an A plus. It was perfect. The Ed Wood rating school. It was perfect. It was perfect. You know what? It's true that it was a story. It exists. It has to be at least it's a D. It's a D. It's a D. Because there's still a couple of story possibilities open, like we duplicated ourselves on a hyperspace jump, staying away from time travel here, or the Pegasus is still out there somewhere. That could show up and make things like, the Lost of the Galactica would be like, and maybe we rename the Pegasus like, I don't know, but like, it seems like we just pissed away all our assets very quickly.
Yeah, and it's like the hopes of the reader is going to say, "Oh my God, it has to be so good coming up." But no, that wasn't the effect that happened. I think, well, except for those 2 simps that wrote in those letters. But I had the feeling most people were like, "What the hell? What are you going to do now?" In a bad way. Come on. I'm going to give it a C, only because they finally had the guys down there in the situation room with some common sense. They did throw it in. This could be something different. And they brought it up a couple times. The doctor brought it up. I like Bob Ross for some reason. He's okay. And some of the art for the Vipers and all that, if you do the Viper art good, you get on my good side, but it's not good enough for the rest of it. That's a hard sell for me to give it a C, but I will. Just for those.
I want to change my score to a D+. Because they do launch a devastating nuclear strike against the damn communists. And I do not like communists.
Yeah, we take out all downtown DC.
D+.
Yeah. DC. I'm not working there anymore.
Take out all downtown. I think a lot of the debris lands on C Street. You're correct.
Yeah, I moved to the land of the free in Florida. I lived. I Admiral Teag. Obviously, now I used to work in DC at the courthouse there. I was there for 16 years after I got out of the military. Lived in Alexandria, though, Virginia. Like from The Walking Dead, that Alexandria.
I love
Alexandria,
the Middle Atlantic,
great. But that state, that's no bueno.
The East Coast is pretty nice in general. It's a cool place to live, but yeah, like Virginia was so weird. Like where I got off the auto train even was like notable for like kooky crime, like kooky levels of crime, like that traffic, just a nightmare. But like it is a pretty cool looking city, and I think I could kind of live there. But I don't know. Like I'll take New York.
Nah, you don't want DC. Alexandria is great.
Just on the topic of this comic, it occurs to me, how many times did we see characters storming out of the room where everyone was looking at them and we saw everyone from behind?
Yeah.
Right? How many times?
A few.
Most. And I think the reason why Bob Ross has a beard is so they don't have to like try to draw a face. I think it's a hack. I honestly think it's a hack.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He doesn't really give off a mad scientist vibe, does he?
No,
I don't.
Not like Z.
Yeah, the child villain thing, like even though he's like Benjamin Button or whatever, Benjamin Button Down, he is like going to be a hard sell when we blow this bad guy away and send him to bad guy land and have him hang out with the Lords of Kobol. Because how else the end? I guess we don't get to that point. Do they even try to finish this?
Well,
This is got cliffhanger written all over it, right? Try to get funded again by another company.
The hint I'll give you is
Maybe
Boomer and
Diamond
Z have
Comics will pick
words.
it up.
They do have words, but I won't get into too much. But he didn't snatch him up when he should have. Like, oh, shut the hell are you talking about? You crazy mad scientist. Lock his
I
ass
think
up.
Diamond
You ain't in
Comics will
charge of
probably
shit,
pick this
little
up
guy.
and save it.
Yeah, Boomer should have said, "You're not in charge of a damn thing." What the fuck?
Yeah,
are
I
you
don't know
talking
why
about?
Colonel
Cerebral law?
Boomer didn't blast him away when they started impressing women with children just into this invasion force. Colonel Boomer didn't.
Boomer would
didn't
never
You
have allowed that.
instavogue,
Just
you know?
come up like Die Hard and just use his
Oh my
blaster
God.
and then say, "It has been revoked."
Yeah, can you imagine Ty being alive and that happening? No way.
I just watched a movie called Wakanda Forever, followed by a movie called Black Widow, and I just,
Jesus Christ, dude, what are you
think
doing
that
to
you're
yourself?
making a mistake here, JT. The problem is that females are naturally stronger and are naturally more intelligent than men, and they're the hunter of our species. It's been said in nature the female of the species is more deadly than the male. Yes, in Black Widow and Wakanda Forever, there are numerous times when you wouldn't believe how easy it is for an 80-pound, 5'1" woman to one punch a big, huge, strapping man. It's the norm. It's the norm.
It's Namor.
Yeah. That as a Latino person, like, thank you for that character. It's like I was dying.
I won't watch it because of that, unless maybe I'll go get some Irish whiskey that RNTNZ is maybe half a bottle of a 7-year-old.
I think I had,
and then I might watch that, so I'll be in a good mood and laugh my ass off. That's the only way I'm going to go watch.
You know what? There are so many weird, dark mistakes, and you have to wonder with the way these people think if they're mistakes. In Wakanda Forever, there's an observation boat, right, where they're trying to look for like stupidium or whatever it is at the bottom of the ocean, because Wakanda's got all the stupidium in the world. So what they do is they're going to go look for more of it, and they find it, and they got a hit on like all this like vibranium at the bottom of the ocean, and they're getting ready to grab it. And on this boat, we see people in like military uniforms and people who have civilian kind of spy outfits, like MIBs, you know what I mean? And they've got their MIB helicopters, and there's a few like contractors, and they're trying to get this piece of vibranium that's just the size of like, whatever, a battleship, and it's more vibranium than you could ever need. Is it going to be great? It's going to change the world. And like, it gets attacked by Namor and his people, and they drop like everybody on the boat into the water in their combat gear. So like, that's it. And like a few people get like in this dramatic, like the only moment of the movie that I was invested in, these two people trying to get away, their helicopter gets like tossed into the sea. So there's no survivors. Movies long and boring and stupid. They meander for a while. Well, a long time later, they come back and they say it was all Army guys and CIA. So it's like, that's your stormtroopers, our American Army, and our way. I mean, whatever you think about the letter agencies, like we can dump them all in the ocean to further our Disney movie. This is an American movie, by the way.
Yeah, of course.
Yes, of course.
Probably not filmed here, but ostensibly one. Yes.
The volume is here. That movie was almost completely filmed in the volume. They were overestimating it. I think the volume will turn out to be a hack and part of like making movies, but I do not think it will be the end all anymore. It's been proven to be not there yet, or maybe not a good idea. If you're not real enough, you leave like believability behind. It might be realistic, but it's not believable anymore. Something happens. It's uncanny.
Right.
Yeah. I think I was on Sunday Night Geekery. I brought up the scene in Black Widow since you had just watched it. Do you know if she took the serum at this point? Are you aware of that kind of stuff that Captain America took, the Infinity Serum? Because
she has an inferior Russian version of the serum that she already had,
and she took it, and so she's a super soldier.
She's always had it. She's had that since before Avengers. JT, am I right on that one?
I don't know. I stopped.
She has Winter Soldier serum, but not Winter Soldier brainwashing. That's basically the best way to put it. The Russians gave her super serum. It's like a Russian form. Like, we have the audience here. The chat will correct me.
Well, they originally thought she would just compete in the Olympics. Right.
The thing is that she's not the only one like one punching dudes. Like Moon Knight had the spitefully unattractive heroine. I'm sorry, lady. You're probably good looking. I've seen how these ladies look outside of these casting things. I don't want to sound misogynistic, I don't want to fall into that trap. They're trying to draw us in. We can't let them do it. I don't want to sound misogynistic. She's probably a lovely person.
You're
who
not.
wouldn't
They
take
put
the
it in the
money.
movie. We didn't.
Yeah, here's the thing. She's probably a
We
lovely
didn't do
lady
it.
and who wouldn't take the money. But when she's like one punching dudes in Moon Knight, she's like 4'6".
Yeah.
She's really diminutive. And these dudes are like, regular believable heavies. They got guys who played heavies. And just like the
6'3",
non-committal.
230,
And she
12% body fat
easily
at the most.
and there's a point where she pulls off 3-1 punches in like 2 minutes on these dudes.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. It's like you said, unbelievability, realism, and just
The
sometimes
realism
just
would have
flat
been if
out
she
bullshit. Even if it's a
she had
guy
used
doing
martial
it's just
arts
crazy.
in
I
a
would say.
club. Even martial arts in a club. Oh, and that's more interesting. She overpowers these dudes. She just one punches them. Are you an Egyptian superhero? I was born an Egyptian superhero, baby.
So Buddy says they had the secret serum because I was referring to the scene where she falls out of an apartment building outside, in the alleyway type, like a New York City type thing, Gotham City, back alley apartment. And she falls from like at least 6 or 7 stories, right? And she hits a pipe and she's and then her leg goes like this, right? And then JT, you remember I brought this up, I think. And she falls all the way down, hitting everything on the way down. And then she lands like on her neck, on the back of on her back and neck on the steel dumpster, right? And it's just like crack. And she just kind of gets up, walks it off like a little rib damage. And I'm like, oh, is the serum that potent that she can get up better than Deadpool?
Right. Her bones are now turned into lead. And it felt like it was left over from another movie. Like maybe that was intended for like, Wolverine. It's just like, well, that movie's not going to come off this year. So you know what? We have this on the pile of storybooked sort of, special effect shots.
Yeah, well, Buddy says she had the serum, but I was thinking, and I'm glad because I didn't know that she had the serum, right?
She has some form of the serum. The Russians have the serum. I don't know if it's the exact same serum because like Buddy's given us a different provenance for it, so he's probably right. Yeah. But like Buddy's the bottom line is there's probably like whatever. They got a couple of strains of super soldier serum. It's like 6 of one, whatever the provenance is. It's supposed to be a little less good than ours, but still pretty good. And what's his name? Like David Barber character, like Red Menace or where the hell he is in that. He's had it too, but like basically it's Winter Soldier serum, but like they have different kind of brainwashing.
Yeah. All right. I just want to clarify that because that was some of the most ridiculous things that I remember because you had seen that movie. Yeah.
Well, the most ridiculous thing in the movie is my favorite part of the movie is that they fly from Ohio to Cuba on one tank of fuel while the guy holds onto the wing of the plane the whole time because they never explain or tell us how he gets off the wing of the plane. So that to me is the best part of the movie. But like, this is the problem I have with my fucking movie OCD. I guess that's why my show has people watching it sometimes. I don't know.
Yeah.
And but that would take a long time going from Ohio to Cuba. I mean, even on a jet.
Where else are you going to go? I mean, as a Cuban myself, I have right of return. So, I mean, I would go there too, but maybe not. I might get inside the plane.
Yeah, it's like when you watch Black Adam and you've got Hawkman, and then Hawkman's like the richest guy in the universe. I mean, he's got the plane that's in an underground airport bunker by this bazillion dollar mansion, and I'm like, maybe somebody could help me out there, but whoever Phantom Outsider is watching, when did Hawkman become a bazillionaire? You know what I mean? It's like, what the fuck? Where did that come from? Where did he get all this money?
For my part, Black Adam. I do. I didn't see the movie though.
So Hawkman has an attitude. He thinks he can kick the shit out of everybody. I didn't like that either. He's this really stern guy who's just always talking trash. But he's got, imagine the biggest English countryside mansion with an underground, like on an aircraft carrier. How they pull the airplanes over and go under. With that technology bird that he had, the airplane that he had to begin with, and it's like $1 bazillion worth of stuff. You know, his backyard or the front yard is the airport the hangar underneath the ground, and it opens. I'm like, what in Hawkman? Maybe I missed something in the comics. I'll have to ask Mark or Buddy or somebody else. But Jesus Christ, where did he get this kind of money?
I want to get like CGI technology to replicate from Black Widow, just a cutscene. Like there is no deleted scene, but a cutscene where like he's on the wing of the airplane and you see them like starting to clear like the coast onto the Gulf of America as he's flying towards Cuba. And like they look out in the wing, like, do you want to come inside? And he's like, yeah, you know what? I'm gonna stay out here because I just been smoking. And he's like got a cigarette and just like holding on with one arm.
Yeah, dude, it's crazy.
Explain why he stays out there, right? It's like there's a reason. No. We explain why he's on the wing.
Well, when that airplane gets up to altitude, it's going to be like what, negative 28 degrees.
That's nothing tastes better than a cold, chilled cigarette. I used to keep them in my freezer when I smoked. So yeah, you know, come on.
Yeah. And I think it said
it was a Piper Cub, so that wasn't a danger. But yeah.
Yeah, it was the government paid for it all, right? That's what somebody was saying from before. But guys, I think JT, you need to head out, right? You want to wrap this up?
Yeah, it's a school night, you know.
Admiral, plug your channel, man. And I put you in earlier. I think I'll try to do that again. What you got coming up this week?
Well, I just finished our upload of the conversation from Carbon Creek, where I refined it a little bit and I made it a little more plain. And I have that dropping. I'm not sure what day to drop it. In fact, I'm hoping JT can advise me on that one. I don't know if it's worth dropping it this week or dropping on Monday.
Yeah, Monday I saw your post earlier, and I don't have a good answer yet. I'm still thinking about that, weighing the options that you had there.
My life, my experience, and my best guess has been like for uploads like that. It's like after the middle of the week is gone, it's like people are starting to think about other things. But Monday has your best chance of maybe building momentum because Saturday and Sunday, no one's as tuned into YouTube. So maybe Monday might be my day. It's finished. It's pretty much finished, but I can tinker with it a little over the weekend. And there'll be a 1923 video coming out next week and an 1883 watch party sometime, maybe Friday night.
A lot of YouTubers drop stuff long form on Sundays.
On Sundays, huh? I'm not going that long on. I got this down to 14 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
The upload for Carbon Creek is 14 minutes.
Really?
I'm going to do a separate upload of the half-hour conversation about the people on Star Trek Cameo. I'm going to do that upload on its own.
Oh yes.
There was a half-hour conversation. Like, I don't know if I'm ready to upload that again because now that I know that part of the processing, it's not that YouTube can't process it that fast. It's that when you upload things, an AI reads every word. And we are talking about new Star Trek people, and we make assumptions based on names and say things like him. So I think that may need to sit somewhere until we can release it, maybe a few months down the road if freedom of speech.
Or you just bleep it. You hilariously bleep it with like a duck quacking or something.
When I bleeped, the thing is, like, I just don't know how to bleep out like pronouns.
No, you just put like a duck quack over it. So it's like blatantly obvious what you're doing, but you're like playing within the rules, right?
We can talk about it later. Something, and I'm going to have a 1923 video because there's a season 2 coming out, and that's a good show. I'm the king of the final frontier and the wild frontier. Your buddy, Admiral Teag. Check out my channel. If you don't like it, you can just quit. I promise. But check it out.
It's there in the chat.
Check it out. It's all right. If you don't like it, no harm, no foul. I'll never say a bad word about you. Mazel tov.
Very cool.
All right.
Very cool.
JT,
you're
pretty much rolling with the Star Trek with Team this week, right? Saturday?
Yeah, well,
we got a great episode coming up for you.
We do. Friday in the evening, I'll be doing Late Night Fortnite with Mark D with a C.
Oh, Mark, we got to plug him.
Saturday, I will be hanging out with the Admiral. However, I will be somewhat delayed due to a fortuitous event in my favor at 8 p.m. on Saturday night that will keep me on an away mission. But fear not, I will be there just later than normal. Would not miss the show completely for this. So great episode. Like the Admiral was saying, check us out Saturday night, starting at 9:30 Eastern on Admiral Teag's channel.
Minefield this Saturday on the next exciting episode of Star Trek Enterprise, where we find out that Mr. Reed is a better actor than Mr. Prideweather, as we call him.
Yeah.
We might need a Prideweather emoji. That might be the next one. We'll get rid of Earth first until we get to that story arc, and we'll put Prideweather up there.
Yeah.
Like, why does your channel have a pride flag, Admiral Teag?
Enterprise was very inclusive. Anyway, let's see. Then, Dave, next Tuesday, to wrap it up, I will be hanging out with Dadman talking sports at 9 p.m. Eastern. So we will be talking a lot of playoff football, national championship football, probably basketball and hockey. So a lot of sports to go around the sporting world. So
very nice.
Between all those, I hope to see everybody around.
Yeah. For me, I just want to please subscribe down there, little square, or you know how to do it. Most people here probably already have, but please do if you forgot. Sometimes that happens. I plugged Mark, Admiral, you're in there. Dadman's in there. And I just want to thank everybody for hanging out. Buddy Hepburn is always RTNZ. Buddy, it's our RTNZ. Sorry, man, I'm gonna have to go with Ireland on that rugby championship. So, but we'll see. France and England are really tough. If you guys haven't watched rugby, the Six Nations tournament is starting in a couple of weeks. That's something if you want to kind of depart from football and see something else. But
will they be playing Seven Nation Army at the Six Nation tournament?
One of the stadiums might be.
That's 13 nations right there. I don't know.
But I can guarantee you the Irish are going to be singing Fields of Athenry when they're playing pretty much everybody else, especially the English.
Before we go, let me thank you very much for your kind invitation and allowing me to sit in as a novice on a comic stream and just make the observations and it was a great time. And, guys, hit the like and follow buttons. Dave has a wrench on my channel, I believe, right? You do, right?
So I don't know, maybe. Thank you.
You should. Everyone who has a YouTube channel who creates, I give a wrench to trusting them to, they can self-promote this way. If I don't have a chance to shout you out, it's you're allowed to put it in there. And you know what? It's a good conversation. It's a worthy channel. So take your time out to hit the like and follow buttons. But also, this conversation is very evergreen to the comic. Please feel free to tweet out from the browser to X that this conversation and hit the hashtag Battlestar Galactica when you put it out. Just like throw the little pound sign in front of it, like pound that Galactica baby, because that'll bring people like to the stream.
Yes, very, very well said. And thanks for coming on. It was a pleasure, man. So next week we're going to try to do 3 and 4, but maybe just 3 because it seems like we're having fun with these bad issues.
No problem. No problem.
We're trying to have fun
people
with
in my apartment are all asleep or whimpering right now, so I had time.
Oh, nice, very nice. So other than that, Friday night, Fortnite with JT, Mandalorian, myself, on Mark D with a C's channel, not mine. It's in the chat, and a few other guests. Amanda came on. She was awesome. She kicked ass. And sometimes Lisa and a few other guests. And then Sunday night with I probably will be on that one again with Mark D's Sunday Night Geekery about 10 o'clock Eastern. That's a fun little show. Mark gets to show off a lot of stuff. So, and then I can show a bunch of stuff I can't afford. Well, some of the figures are in the thousands that pop up. Oh, geez. Yeah. But all right, guys, I think that's it. And Admiral Teag, thank you so much for being here. That was great. You're more than welcome to pop back on next week.
It was a real honor.
to see this out. I'm kind of interested to see what you got to say next week, because I know some things already about number 3, not 4, but I guess that's it. And we will say goodnight to everybody. Buddy Hepburn, RTNZ, Dadman, Lady V came on. Gosh, a bunch of people popped in early that I might have forgotten.
You gotta call him by his real name. RRTNZ is a super sub and a celebra sub.
Yes, and a rugby fan.
Yes,
but it's just very cool.
He of critical drinker fame, RRTNZ.
Yes. Oh, there we go. FKHC 2005 was also popped in. I knew I was missing somebody, but anybody
Lady
else
V?
I miss? Lady V? Yes, definitely.
DJ Play
Play Nice.
DJ came by. I missed. Nice. Oh,
Yeah,
there you are.
Jump in the chat now.
And Deadman.
and Dadman, yes.
Don't forget
And
Deadman.
Dadman.
And plugged his channel. I plugged his channel out there, so sub to him as well. And DJ Play Nice. You have a channel, I think, right? Thanks for coming in. I'll get your channel in if I could. I think you're already leaving. But all right, guys. See you soon. And everybody out there, thank you so much and have a good night.
Bye all.
Bye, everybody.